But
I would like some lower difficulty adversaries, I will say.
And I still want my low complexities, Eric.
I want someone who changes the game but doesn't make it worse.
Just give me 1 and 8, thank you.
welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a show all about the board game Spirit Island. Here we'll talk about analytics and strategies within the game, as well as a plethora of other topics that can be found within it. Today, we wanted to officially close the door on this adversary series by taking a fun look back on all the various numbers, truths, and stats we've learned along the way.
This feels like deja vu because I've done this. Too soon. The lost episode.
All right, let's get back to it.
Okay.
Alrighty.
There it is.
There it is. Oh, Laura's here?
Hey, the gang's all here.
He dragged me back in.
How else are we supposed to close out season 1?
It's season 1 finale. Laura had to be here.
Of course. No way she's gonna miss that. Come on. Yeah, the first thing I thought I was like, well, John, here we are again.
Here we go again.
We've been here before. Alrighty, so now that the Adversary series is finally actually coming to a close, we all took the time to look and examine each of these adversaries.
7 months later.
And quite literally. But we had taken the time to look at all of these statistics and all these numbers and like a deep dive on all the capabilities of these adversaries specifically. And so each of these episodes that we've done are about all the adversaries specifically, all about France's. If you want to know all about France, go to the France section. If you want to have information on Sweden, you can go to the Sweden episodes and see what the community thoughts were, the good strategies in finding them, the lore, all that. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to look at some of like the big third-person, out-of-the-box view.
50,000 feet up.
Yeah, like a big picture view at all of the adversaries in general, because there's a lot of information that can be helpful, even if you think, oh, that's not like critical information, but I didn't know that. And it's surprising how subtle things like that can actually improve your gameplay.
As a numbers guy, this geeks me out so much.
Yeah.
I just lose my mind. This is so fun for me.
Right. And it's just fun.
It is.
Simply put.
It's important knowledge to have.
Yeah.
What we're about to break down.
Yeah. And at its absolute worst, it's like one of those things where it's like, and there's your random fact for the day.
Sure.
You know that one saying, like, a day is only truly wasted if you went through it without learning a single new thing?
Oh, I've never heard that.
Worded in that way.
Worded in that way. Of like, today I learned or something. Or
Yep.
I feel like I've wasted many days.
It's worded in the positive, which is, so long as you've learned one new thing, today wasn't a waste.
That's how I've heard
Like, that's usually how it's worded. But same deal. So, a lot of you are about to have your days made.
For the whole week. We have lots of stats.
That's right. So when looking at all of these adversaries combined, all 7 of them, what are just some fun facts?
Yes.
Fun facts right off the top. Well, as we said before, who has the most fear cards? Well, that title goes to Scotland at 16.
The Scots.
And we said that before, but I love the fact that it's them who's like the bravest, like the most crazy, because I feel as if they would be the most resolute in their psyche, you know? And it totally makes sense that it's the Scots.
Oddly enough, I feel England is longer just because of that extra fear.
Yeah.
For some reason. I know Scots is the most, but for some reason England, maybe because we just played
but
it.
England doesn't tweak the deck at all. Scotland does.
That's true.
So England can just drag. But we'll get into that. Scotland has the most amount of fear cards. Who has the least?
Ooh, Lord, you know this one. Don't look.
The least amount of fear cards? Russia. France.
Put a P in front of that.
Habsburg. Prussia.
Hey! Edit out the ones that she was wrong.
Brandenburg, Prussia comes in at the least amount of fear cards. Yay! With 12. Only 12. But you only have 8 turns.
Oh. Because when you see 12, you're like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
That's basically a standard
So that's actually
game.
an interesting point, which is actually truly shorter. Maybe someone that has like a 12-turn game, but maybe like 14 fear cards? Or is it actually Brandenburg, Prussia with 12 fear cards, but only 8 turns?
I could see that argument where it's more difficult to go through all 12.
Right, how does that ratio fit in
to Scotland's 16?
Yeah, just like a fun thing.
Yeah.
So Scotland has the most at 16. Brandenburg, Prussia has the least at 12. How about the hardest adversary? Who's the hardest? Who's the easiest? Who has the lowest difficulty? Well, The lowest difficulty, and remember, all of our adversary examination content is looking at these adversaries when at their maximum difficulty.
Definitely.
Is Sweden at difficulty 8.
Which is so funny, Ryan, because I think they were one of our hardest games during the series. We had to tooth and nail and claw and scrape all those adjectives.
Habsburg, cakewalk. France, healthy island. It was hilarious.
Brandenburg, Prussia, tier level 2 victory.
Woo! And then Sweden was just like difficulty 8, but ooh. Now, of course, a lot of that comes from the fact that, hey, look who you were playing as. You weren't playing as counterpicks against Sweden, whereas the other peeps you were. And yes, there's, random things.
Card draws.
Yeah, that can plinko affect your gameplay experience to be harder or easier or whatever. But still, it's still comedic how Sweden, the only adversary that has a single-digit difficulty, was the one that was for us the hardest.
In our household, I can definitely say Sweden, the least played adversary. Laura, you hate it.
Really? I didn't know which was Sweden. I didn't remember they were a thing. We're reviewing them in the car. I'm like, Sweden's a person to play?
So, nothing's changed. Anyways.
I didn't think it was because it was like, this sucked.
So much fight, so much damage.
I hate this.
Even your subconscious can sometimes tell which one you hate the most because of how much burnout you have when you're done. Like, Russia was the one that Laura was just completely burnt out with. But Habsburg...
We haven't played them again yet.
Nope. Will we? Nope.
Don't say that word, Ryan.
We done? That's over?
And yet Habsburg, you were having the time of your life. You're just like, this is so much fun.
So she was playing the counterpick to Habsburg?
Yep, she was playing Stone.
She was playing Stone, so that might
help. Stone's fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so if Sweden is technically the easiest, who is the hardest? Well, Russia came in at difficulty 11 in this new Jagged Earth expansion, and we were like, what? Yeah. Did I see 2 1s? 1 1 11?
Everyone in this room felt that 11 in our game and me and Laura's game.
They do not pull their punches, bro. And so that was definitely something that when I first attempted their highest difficulty, I'm like, yeah, 11 seems... Yeah,
that's fair.
Pretty apt. Yeah.
Makes sense.
And so that was like one of the things that was like such a shock with like, all right, kid, you're growing up. Jagger was bringing it because 10 was always the highest. 10 was the measure of, that was the big league chew. But then now we have an 11. Oh man, does this mean that like future stuff will be like 12 or 13? Like, what? I didn't know that 10 was surmountable. That was my point.
Save it for the speculation episode.
Is Eric going to bring in higher difficulty adversaries?
We'll see, I guess, but...
I would like some lower difficulty adversaries, I will say.
And I still want my low complexities, Eric.
I want someone who changes the game but doesn't make it worse.
Just give me 1 and 8, thank you.
Low complexity
Sometimes I want chill night.
Always been accessible.
I just want a chill night, E. Royce.
Oh yeah,
you guys know that the difficulty is tweakable, right?
I don't know. I just show up. They say we're playing this. I say okay.
Take some ownership in your life.
I know she's so dour right now. She's making us look bad. Anyway, but there was something very interesting that I missed, in truth.
Okay.
As a result of looking at all of these adversaries with such a close microscopic view to do analysis and strategy commentary and whatnot, it is quite common that we use the wiki as one of our resources all the time. And on the wiki, it shows all the details that you would ever want for all of these various adversaries and scenarios and
all the misspellings.
Yep.
Son?
Proceed, get on there. Anyway. But I noticed something when we were doing the last adversary with England. I noticed that there was a little asterisk at the bottom of their page there, right next to their final difficulty at difficulty 10. I was like, hey, wait, what? So I looked at the asterisk at the bottom of the page and it said, England level 6 is formally recognized to be difficulty 11.
Oh?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought only Russia was. Is that why there's an asterisk?
So, there was a convenient little link to click and I was like, what? I never knew this. So, I went and checked it out and lo and behold, I found some commentary from a certain Ted Vesinus and a certain Eric Royce on the matter.
Oh, I've heard these names before.
Yeah. Ted says, I consider England 6 to be difficulty 11 and on par with Russia 6. I didn't know that. but I totally feel it.
I didn't know that either. Laura didn't know that.
Definitely didn't know that.
So Eric came in and also commented saying it's quote-unquote official, as in most folks who play at those difficulty levels, including the lead developer, consider that being England level 6 being difficulty 11 instead of 10, to be true. It's not quote-unquote official, as in it's a thing that's errated, but that's only because it's not high enough impact to errata. The FAQ can be huge without problem since it's searchable. But when you label something as errated, that conveys that, hey, this matters, everyone, pay attention to it, and I don't want to overuse that power.
Yeah.
So I totally feel
that. Yeah.
But the thing that made me notice that was on the actual cards, the physical cards, on the original OG ones, it never showed you what the difficulty was for each level of the adversary. The later ones actually showed you and told you what the difficulty
and I'm
were.
So thankful for that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And so on the wiki, they went and put those difficulty levels on each of the OG ones. That's one of the reasons why I checked the wiki so often for the research for this adversary series, was because of that, so I can see at a glance, okay, when does this difficulty thing come in there?
Right.
Okay. And I noticed the asterisk when I was looking at that. So I was like, huh. So Russia isn't technically the highest difficulty at 11. Yes, they are hard at difficulty 11, and I agree with it.
Yeah.
But England is also...
still the bad boys on the block.
Yeah, difficulty 11, and I totally agree with it. You'll hear no complaints from me.
No, we felt it. We tried to get Laura to play in our game. She said, nope, I'll go paint.
Yep.
Didn't want that.
So the lowest difficulty is Sweden at 8, and the highest difficulty is a tie between Russia and England at 11.
Very interesting.
You know, out of the 7 adversaries, one of them is at difficulty 8, 2 of them are at difficulty 11, but the other 4 are at difficulty 10.
Yeah, that's where like most of the sweet spot is.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's like, ooh, when it comes to difficulty, the norm is a double digits. But only one, that's Sweden, as we said, is not double digits.
That's an interesting thought, Laura. Maybe there will be another adversary that is lower in difficulty later on. I think the argument is with more expansions that come out, usually you have those people that are buying those later expansions, the dedicated gamers.
Right.
So they want hard difficulty things. They don't want low complexity spirits. They don't want easy adversaries because they are the veterans. So maybe that's why those don't come out as much anymore?
Maybe, and the general vibe I see from people is they don't mind when something is a certain difficulty level, so long as they still somewhere have access to the extreme. Doesn't mean they'll always exist at the extreme, but at least they have access to it.
That's true. They've done a very good job of making them accessible, no
Yeah.
matter what level you want to play it at.
Yep. One thing that's interesting to those of you who are starting your journey on the adversaries and you don't want to take them on at the max level, that's totally fine. This next stat will be for you. Of all of the adversaries, the hardest base difficulty of each of these adversaries is France and Habsburg at a difficulty of 2.
Interesting.
Each of these adversaries, if you have them at just their buck standard, they're not even level 1, just having them in at their lowest difficulty, who's the hardest? France and Habsburg.
I feel it with France.
Oh, I definitely feel it.
Yeah.
But to those who want to try getting into it and you want to take things like really slow, totally fine. Maybe France and Habsburg aren't the ones you want to do because those are the hardest at their utter base. All the rest will be difficulty 1.
That's a good warning. I like that.
To the same group of people, the people who want to get their toes wet, then their feet, then their ankles and shins, and they just kind of like want to walk into the deep end instead of jump into the deep end. Another helpful statistic for you might be that every adversary in the game has a loss condition except for 2.
Except for 2.
Only 2 don't have a loss condition, which is just another thing to remember, another thing to be weighing on your mind. And so these 2 may be good to remember just because that's just less to remember.
And that does make it a little bit easier.
Yep. And those 2 are Brandenburg, Prussia, and Sweden.
Pushback. Hot take. I think Prussia does have a loss condition. It's time.
It's time. But if you're doing at the base difficulty,
Oh, true.
it's not the worst. Because at base difficulty, the only thing that you're going to have is their escalation. And it just simply says, on each board with buildings, add a town to a land without a town.
Yeah.
That's not so bad.
No, it's
and
not.
And that is a fantastic training wheels kind of thing for a new player. So I think knowing that, the fact that France and Habsburg have the hardest base difficulty and Brandenburg, Prussia, and Sweden don't have a loss condition, that information that I just said is going to be really valuable to the people who just want to get in slow.
We've said this before. Brandenburg Prussia is the best starter adversary. Because, like we said, there's barely any upkeep on rules.
Yeah.
You just manipulate the invader deck, or like you said with the escalation, just add one town.
Yep.
So it's not the worst thing.
Right, and as of now, there's 7 adversaries. You pick your starting point.
Of course.
It's all up to you.
Yeah.
But, like I said, that information might be useless to some people. Totally fine, because it can be useful to one person. And so long as it's useful to one person, I think it's worth saying.
Agreed.
Fun fact, the adversary with the smallest invader deck is...
Let's say it all at once.
Brandenburg Prussia at 8.
What they're known for. Yep.
You have 8 turns. That is the smallest invader deck. That means that they are definitely the fastest.
The speed trial of Spirit Island.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
It was interesting, after looking at all these adversaries, a lot of them, as a measure of difficulty to make the game harder for the player, will go and do something to the invader deck. They tweak it somehow. Maybe they swap around the order, or maybe...
Put bombs in the fear deck.
They put bombs at something. Something somewhere happens with the invader deck. But out of the 7, there are 3 that don't do anything with the invader deck. It is a perfectly untouched invader deck. So if you are someone who absolutely hates having to worry about a compromised invader deck because maybe you've done normal games a lot and you want to further ease yourself in to the game, and so maybe this next stat will be useful to you because you're looking for, well, I want someone that's going to be a little bit easier to understand from the gameplay that I'm accustomed to.
At my pace and
a
slower...
at your pace.
Yeah.
Correct. England, Sweden, and France don't touch the deck at all. So that means that there's just a standard deck. And if you are accustomed to playing a standard game without any adversaries or scenarios or anything like that, in this way, those 3 adversaries, England, Sweden, and France, are going to seem probably the most normal to you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a good starting point. So I guess that's why some of these statistics are important, because to some people, this could be good information to know for your entry point. Who has the hardest base difficulty? Who has a lost condition versus who doesn't? Who has an untouched invader deck versus who has the smallest one? I don't know what kind of player you are, or what kind of things you value, or what things are easy for you or hard. But all of this information, if you want to take it at your own pace, can be helpful because that helps you find your entry point.
What's interesting with the last stat you talked about, the untouched invader deck, you think to yourself, oh, the deck is completely normal. What a benefit to me as the spirit, as the player, so I can grow. It's funny how those 3 adversaries really use the untouched invader deck to their benefit. So you have more escalations.
Yep.
So you have more stage 3 cards of just more buildings, more towns, more double blight.
Right.
So you think like, oh, England, more turns, that's awesome. You get every single escalation with a building in the same land, and all of a sudden you have 7 buildings in one land.
Pros and cons, baby.
Yeah.
There are strengths and weaknesses.
We were terrified of France stage level 3 because we had 20 explorers on the island about to turn into towns.
Definitely have an adversary where it's like, oh, well, at least they have this. Well, don't forget the other things that they can do because maybe there's something aggressively against your preference that they do that you want to be considered. But, I mean, you can read the card. You see
it's just funny to think about.
That's all. One stat I thought was interesting. Who starts with the most stuff? You know, like setup changes.
The plastic.
Yeah. And so we were talking about the invader deck, but what about like the actual like game stage?
The white dudes.
Who has the most amount of stuff? So Brandenburg Prussia just has a town. Just one extra town.
One little goop.
That ain't so bad.
A single goob.
Yeah. Russia comes in with just 1 explorer and 1 more beast.
Not too bad.
Okay.
Love having the extra beast.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
the thing that they don't tell
beasts.
you is that they start in prime condition to kill that beast.
I will break you.
Habsburg comes in with 2 towns. They love their towns.
Oh, yeah.
So 2
Extra
towns
hell
is the
towns.
only thing that changes there. France, likewise, 2 towns. They'll be getting a few more of those, but still, just 2 towns. That ain't the worst.
No, nothing bad.
Scotland comes in with a city. It's on the coast. That's one thing that they do with their identity. They love having a city. And it's in the center, too. It's land 2. And they love having a city on that coast. And yeah, we talked about the fact that Scotland already starts the game at 50% to their win condition.
Hope you don't lose.
Woof.
England comes in with a city and a town.
So don't worry, you're probably getting an adjacency build turn 1.
Yeah, so that's going to be pretty
There's
rough.
buildings everywhere.
Unless you do Draw the Fruitful Earth with...
Lightning Spoon.
Yeah. Hey. But in truth, it's Sweden.
What?
That comes in at number 1 with the most amount of stuff.
With the weakest
They're supposed to be
adversary.
the easiest.
They're the easiest, Laura said.
They come in with a city, 2 towns, and a blight. Thankfully, that blight comes from the box, but still, it's another blight.
They're so front-loaded.
So remember how Scotland was like, ha, we love having a city there. England's like, haha, we have a city and a town. And then Sweden's like, hey, remember how England had a city and a town? I have a city and 2 towns. Oh, and a blight.
And a blade, just for
Sweden
fun.
Just make it worse.
can be very detrimentally effective to your brain when you're like, oh no, because your morale takes a hit once you see they're all over.
It's a little overwhelming turn 1 when you're starting a Sweden game. Maybe that's why you don't play them so much. You kind of
It's just like a lot on the board right off the bat.
Yeah.
Pick a direction. That's the right one to go.
What land do I start in, Ryan?
Just go for it.
I feel like I need to retry Sweden because the first time we played them, I was like, oh no. And now I'm a little more comfortable with losing. So now might be a good time to go back and just be like, all right.
Well, now that Jagged Earth has come out, there's a lot more spirits and a lot more cards that
Yeah.
make that kind of gameplay style conducive.
Yeah.
So one thing that was kind of funny, when doing this whole adversary series, obviously it's human nature to have some things that you identify with versus things that you identify against. And between how we differ as players, what we like, the gameplay styles we like, I'm very pro Dahan. Laura less so, unless when she's Thunder Speaker. John loves control, and we both love fear also.
Love fear.
And as a result of just having different preferences, it's actually kind of fun to see which of these various adversaries we liked versus disliked, which ones were just such a slog, which ones we hated, and particularly when when it comes to the escalations or the loss conditions. I was kind of curious. I was wondering what your least favorite loss conditions or least favorite escalations were. When it comes to escalation, no debate, it's Sweden.
Whoa.
I hate Sweden's. Oh, I hate it so much. Because they convert your Dahan. Oh, I hate that so much.
We love Dahan.
I love using Dahan, and it's such a crippling reversal. I always hate it when there's any adversary that has the capability to give you a problem really quick.
Yeah.
Like, last turn, you were fine, and very suddenly, you now have a very big issue. And Sweden is one of them, because after the invaders explore in each land this phase, if that land has at least as many invaders as Dahan, you convert a Dahan into a town.
Not fair.
But a town? Really? Not even an explorer. Just like it is when you're playing Age of Empires, when a monk or a priest converts one of your guys. It's awful because not only are you losing a guy, they are gaining a unit. So the difference isn't 1, it's 2. If you killed one of my units,
You just lose 1.
I lost 1. Or if they recruited 1, they gained 1. But no, it's both. I lose a Dahan and they gain 1. Also, thematically, it's like the most painful. Like, no!
Yeah,
Like, the
is
very
true.
essence of the game. That is the evil that we're fighting. Like, no! And I hate that, because then you can have a clear land that has a Dahan in it. Yay, we're
Just
all
one
fun.
Dahan. And then an explorer shows up.
Bam, an explorer shows up. Oh, now they tied. Now there's a town and an explorer. Dahan's not there. You have no counterattacking
Whoa,
potential.
whoa,
Next
whoa,
turn,
what?
they're building
What?
a city.
Whoa, slow down.
It's going,
And
it's
those
going.
towns deal bonus damage.
What? And the
And
cities.
if they did enough damage, double blight. Oh, I hate this so much.
I wonder, because of how you started playing this game, you started, like you said, with lightning and earth, and you really resonated with earth, and you still
Right.
love earth and played Might
Right.
Earth against England. I
Oh,
wonder
I
if that
hate this
defensive mindset that you
Yeah.
started this game with,
Right.
and you utilized Dahan so well in your gameplay, I think that is why it really sticks out to you, this
It really
escalation.
stuck with me the
Yeah.
first time I ever played with it. Like, oh, that is just insulting on so many ways. Mechanically insulting, thematically insulting. It's just like, oh no. And for me, I love playing Mist. And I love the fact that Mists and Nates can just both go bink bink and negate the 2 incoming explorers that happened. Because the moment they happen, 2 explorers show up in 2 different lands. You can use Lost in the Swirling Haze to handle one of those because you shove them out of there. And you can use Suffocating Shroud to straight up kill the other one. So after they explode, they show up and you killed them in the slow phase or handled them in the slow phase. Here, though, it says after the invaders explore. But that's before your slow powers go.
You can't even act yet.
So, as Mist, I can't do anything about that. No!
It's like you're sitting on your hands.
Yes, I know that it can be handled, it can be stopped if you have enough Dahan clumped up into a land, or if you have it isolated, or maybe you have a wild token. Yes, it's something that you can prepare for. I get that. I'm just saying, when talking about escalations that successfully go off, this is the one that just stings for me the most. Oh, I hate it so much.
Laura, do you have anything to chime in?
I also agree with Ryan on
you're
Sweden.
Swedens too.
They're just obnoxious.
It is obnoxious,
John
though.
pointed out, like, my favorite character, Thunderspeaker, does have the ability to move the Dahan around and get them out of the places. You can move Dahan, but you can't move every Dahan every single turn everywhere. Right. You still are limited in how often you can move. And so if you're trying to set up for a big move, but you're like, okay, well, I also need to keep my little Dahan army safe over here. Like, they're still going to be killing your people off, and you still can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So,
but the reversal sucks because it's a town that has bonus damage. Because yes, it's a town, it has as much health as a town, but it has the damage of a normal city.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like even more obnoxious. And as a Thunderspeaker main, that totally makes sense.
You're losing your ammo.
Yeah, you're losing your ammo, and it just also means you can't set up for a big kaboom if you're trying to.
And since you natively can't get them back either as Thunderspeaker, that's
you have to look
egregious.
For cards to it's just
have river play.
Well, and you want to get cards and play cards that move your Dahan, not just create Dahan. You just want river on your team.
Right, and yeah, you can prepare for it and get around it, sure, but we're talking about like when it goes off successfully. It's just like,
you can't plug every hole in this game. Things are going to slip through. You're going to have stragglers, like Laura's saying, and they're going to get converted, and it sucks.
Yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you. I hate it. John, what about yours?
So I feel like the ones that we hate really resonate with personal experiences because, frankly, all of them suck.
Yeah, no, they do. They do. And each one of them has a certain context with how the rest of the adversaries' abilities combine with it.
How they all build with their kits.
Because in a vacuum, some of them sound a lot worse or better than others. Or some are like, that ain't so bad. England's, okay.
They build, okay.
They build, whatever, that's fine. But once you remember, oh, wait, they have a loss condition where if they have 7,
and an extra build tile, and adjacency builds.
It looks a lot uglier.
It does.
Because if they get those 7 buildings in a land, they win. And yeah, you get the...
So I think, speaking from personal experience, because we're talking about what stings, what hurts, what really grinds your gears, it was Scotland for me.
You were fractured.
I was fractured days, not having a lot of influence on the island.
No, that makes sense. No, seriously, that makes sense.
I'll remind the listeners, is called Ports Sprawl Outward. On the single board with the most coastal buildings, add 1 town to the n-numbered lands with the fewest towns, n being the number of players. So, on the single board, which means if you're playing a multiplayer game, which we typically do, at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, if you are being the worst at the game and you have the most coastal
they pick on
buildings,
you.
They pick on you.
That's the thing. They find
kick you while you're down.
Your life sucks. Make it suck harder.
Yeah.
They find the player who's in dead last and they just pile it on them.
Make it worse.
It's like blue shelling the guy in last place in Mario Kart. Like, what? I was already in last.
I remember.
Don't make this worse.
When we were playing our Scotland game, the second time the escalation went through, I felt it. I was like, oh no, it's me again.
I know.
The first time you're like, oh, maybe it was just a bad turn. I'll growth. I'll gain more cards and get energy. I'll figure this out. And then I hit again. I'm like, oh no. I'm just like getting ganged up on.
I remember watching you like accept it with such despair because we just like, okay, it happened again.
It's kind of got a little awkward. It's like, it's John again. So then we start.
And he's like, yeah, I know.
We start reaching for the extra town pieces, and the people are doing it for me. I'm just like watching it happen.
But don't worry, because Thunderspeaker got Rapid Wings of Sunlight.
Hey!
But no, I definitely can see it because I mean, in the way that Laura was saying, the term was obnoxious. That also seems obnoxious. Yeah. Really, whoever's having the hardest time and they go against them. What if you're playing with a newer player? Boy, they're gonna feel really targeted.
Maybe don't start with Scotland.
I could definitely see it. Maybe not Scotland, but
anyway, that was my least favorite.
Yeah, no, escalation. That fits. That definitely makes sense. When it comes to loss condition, easy. France. It's so mind-cripplingly pressure-inducing for me. I hate that.
It's the one we felt the most in our series.
Right, because once you realize how fast they can build towns, because you're like, okay, they have a lot of explorers. Oh, explorers are their thing. Okay. The moment, for the first time, you see them go, boop, and all of those explorers, except for one, turn into towns. You're like, oh no.
There's 4 explorers in the land. Now there's 4 towns with 1 explorer remaining. What?
when you see them marshaling their explorers, they're about to convert on you. And you're like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And for whatever reason, that is just, for me, that's just the most pressure inducing. I may be accidentally shooting myself in the foot because we actually set aside the appropriate amount of towns.
In a clear Dixie cup.
So whenever we take them out and put them on the board, I actually see how much are left. So I'm like, oh crap! Like I can actually
which is
see
again,
that
I
we're
think really smart to do. Everyone at home, please do that. Set
no,
them
seriously,
aside.
because it helps you calibrate what threat is worse against you. Is it blight and damage, or is it towns? Because right now, maybe I can stop a build, or maybe I can stop damage coming in. Well, let me check. What's the blight situation? We got 1 left. How many towns do we have in the Dixie Cup? I don't know, maybe like 10.
Okay.
You know what? We're good. We can let them build. Maybe some other time it's like the exact opposite.
There's 2 left.
Right. You have to be in management of it. But for me, oh my gosh, I hate it. I hate it so much. And yes, I know that technically England's is actually kind of easier because it's just 7 buildings.
Yeah.
Easier for Team Bad Guy, I mean. Easier for them to get the loss condition.
Yeah.
So that's town or city. You'd think that'll be more pressure inducing, right? Because this one's only towns. But yeah, no, it's just France's...
The whole kit, like you were saying.
Proclivity
when you
to
play
just,
the entirety of France, you feel it.
Right. Oh, it's the worst. So what would be your least favorite loss condition if you had one?
I don't think I really have one, other than the France one is annoying, but I would say the most obnoxious, like, gameplay change thing is the one where all of the blight that you take off the board has to go onto the card.
Slow healing ecosystem.
And once you get, like, enough of it...
No, that's totally fair.
Then you can put it back. That stinks.
That one, that one's
very
almost
unique.
Like... It is unique, but it almost guarantees that you're gonna blight.
It's so difficult.
So at that point, you're like, well, I hope I'm playing the nasty little fire spirit.
Right, there's like a sense of doomed dread that you
or
have,
stone,
though.
where you're like adding blight from the box and then putting it on the board. Then you're like, and now I'll heal it right back off again. And
well, it's like this impending thing that you can't escape. There's like this doom. They're like, well, even if I did heal it,
so why heal it?
Probably gonna go anyway. Yeah.
I had that comment because I was posting like one game I had. I'm like, I didn't heal the blight because it's France, so who cares? And someone's like, what about the end score? I'm like, I won, so I don't care about the end score.
Wait, do people score it for like how much blight is on the board and stuff?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of things that go that affect the score that you have.
Wow, you are such a volcano player. Scoring involves Dahan, blight on the island.
Why would they do that? That's just like making it rude to volcano players.
For me personally, the thing I care about is win, yes or no. I don't really care how the board state was, honestly. Like, ultimately, is it fun to say, oh yeah, we cleaned up a lot? Sure, yeah, if I'm doing second wave. But, like, if it's general game, like, I just really care about, did I win?
If this was second wave, I would definitely care.
Yep. Okay, so now we're going to get into something that's really cool,
This is where I
think.
geek out.
So, one of the funnest things about these surveys, and probably like the biggest point of focus for all of the incoming advice that we asked for, was who do you think is the best against all of these adversaries specifically, and who is the worst? Well, we made bottom 5s and top 5s throughout the whole thing. And it was really cool to see specifically where each of these spirits went with each corresponding adversary. And it was cool to see the rock, paper, scissors effect on all of them.
One reason why we did, we would see so many people asking, who should I play against this adversary? If I want to get a win, who is the best? Time after time after time, I would see on BGG or Reddit or Discord, who should I play as? So we wanted to give the community, have them vote on who they think is the best so people could see and hear these totals.
So, how did each of them perform as a whole? How many times did each one show up on various lists, whether they be top 5, bottom 5, both, neither?
Neither.
How many times? Where in the placement of those lists? So we're gonna go and get into how each of them went as a whole. We made here a weighted bottom 5 and a weighted top 5. Weighted simply means that we award a certain amount of points to each spirit, and those points are based on where they were placed in each of these. So, for instance, number 1, first place, is worth 5 points. If you got first place, you got 5 points for something.
Nice.
If you showed up in 5th place, you only got 1 point.
Oh.
And second place would be 4 points, third place 3 points, fourth place 2 points. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So what this means is these are like counterpoints. in the community's opinion, how many times did you counter an adversary and how many times were you countered? So basically, the more counterpoints you have, the better you are at taking down certain adversaries and vice versa. So it's actually kind of cool because how many points you have are comprised of two different values. How many times you showed up and where you showed up. So it was actually pretty cool to see where all these spirits showed up. I thought it was actually pretty cool. So
it's really cool to see these weighted top 5, bottom 5s, and then to look at people's tier lists out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, these people show up all the time on this high of a tier list, but they never showed up on our weighted top 5.
Right.
So it's like, where are we judging these tier lists on? Just some food for thought.
It's a really cool thing to think of when you are analyzing the data. And it's kind of fun to look and find the truths hidden within these numbers.
Exactly.
So we have 9 placements for the bottom 5, the overall bottom 5. So this is actually kind of cool. Before we were doing bottom 5 and top 5 for each individual adversary. Now we're doing
all 7.
All 7 at once. So in 9th place, we have 3 spirits. Immense lightning, shifting memory, and many minds move as one. They got 1 point.
So they appeared once in 5th place.
That means once at 5th place. There's only one way to get 1 point, and that is one time at 5th place.
So that's not terrible. That's pretty good to only show up once.
That's pretty good.
As a non-counter pick.
Out of all the 7?
Yeah.
I mean, some might even say that's S tier.
I don't. I don't. Sorry, Tips.
So, like you said, the bottom of a bottom 5, that's pretty much a compliment.
Yeah.
So, immense lightning, we know to be favorably minded. In the zeitgeist of the player base, shifting memory.
No one votes for, so who cares?
Pretty much.
The forgotten spirits of Spirit Island.
But also very customizable. It can be anything.
No, that's my real thought.
Yeah,
I think memory is strong.
Many minds. Yeah, that means only one adversary. And even if it was one adversary, it was in 5th place. So it was like hardly even mentioned.
Still winnable for minds.
Yep. In 8th place, Travel River and Volcano at 2 points. We're still very much in the territory of characters that are just solid.
England's stain is all over River in this one. Yeah. England and River don't mesh
River
well.
never showed up like hardly ever in the bottom 5. And then England shows up and they showed up twice.
River.
Volcano is just such an awesome spirit, so...
I feel like, not forgotten spirit, but not often talked about. Volcano's a cool spirit that I don't see a lot of chatter about.
I feel as if that's like
you
the
love
one
Volcano. In our group, we play
spirit
it.
who's like, everyone knows that they're just cool.
Good, strong.
Like, that's just a cool guy.
Fair.
But I don't think they're people's favorite offensive spirits, at least so far, and what I've noticed.
A lot of people's they are.
A lot.
Right, it's not a vocal favorite too often.
They did make the All-Stars top 5 in the offensive category, so they are talked about.
Next, at 3 points, Green and Trickster.
Interesting.
Yep, still, once again, we're very much in the lower part of these point values. Only 3 counterpoints.
Maybe that's 1 or 2 appearances.
Right,
maybe
that could be a single appearance in 3rd place, or maybe 2 appearances in 4th and 1 in 5th, or 3 in 5th. We're still dealing with characters who are widely pretty good.
Yes.
So, Green Trickster, they aren't countered too much, according to the community. Moving on up to 4 points, we have Lure, River, and Wildfire.
Wow.
Think of those 3 spirits.
Heavy hitters.
Really good, solid
top-tier spirits.
Lure, River, Wildfire, for their own ways, are just phenomenal in a lot of things. So 4 points, that's not very bad. You know, out of 7 adversaries, to only acquire 4 points.
For River, it was 1 appearance on,
a single
England.
time, right.
They just got 2nd place against England as the worst.
The next level goes from 4 points to 8 points.
Oh.
So now we are starting to discuss and talk about spirits that get countered a bit more often and or countered a bit more directly. Base Lightning and Serpent.
Okay.
I can see it.
I can see it.
Both of them are renowned for being slow in certain ways.
Yeah.
Serpent's being slow in the fact that, hey, they gotta wake up. It takes a while.
It takes a while.
Literally part of their lore.
Lightning can be slow in the fact that...
It's the reclaim loop!
There it is, the famous or infamous reclaim loop. You can go just completely all-out offense and be like, ha! Look at this 6-card play,
wow, that was
turn
incredible.
That I had.
Can you do that again?
No.
Do you have 6 more to go along with it? Ooh, actually. I had a hand of 7.
Is River in this game? No, Bob.
So yeah, I definitely see, and this is base lightning we're talking about. The higher these counterpoint values go, the more specific we're gonna see certain spirits.
There we go.
And so base lightning and serpent came in at 8. At 9 points, we have... Oh, man.
Wow.
Literally?
Wow.
Okay. At 9 points...
This might be the most surprising so far.
Each one of us here at this table hates this one.
Ooh.
At 9 points, Ocean, Finder, and Fang.
No.
Oh.
How dare
Sacre bleu.
Each for our own specific reasons, we
We've
all
named
have like a
these
favorite
spirits.
here that's represented. Fangs, Finder, and Ocean, 9 points. This means that since there are 7 adversaries, this means that we are guaranteed that we are... Right. Multiple appearances and not just 5th place.
No.
Now that we're at 9 points.
Now we're seeing some black eyes here.
In Ocean's case, we know what it's going to be. The inability to reach inland. For Finder, you can't kill people.
No damage, no fear.
Right. In Fang's case, the
misunderstanding of how to play the spirit.
But the low damage, the blight restrictions.
You watch your tongue on that low damage.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
But that's like the mental understanding that surrounds these characters. Hopefully we can get to a point where it's not so bad in people's minds, because once people can see that actually it's not so bad, but still 9 points, that's starting to get pretty considerable. The Fool's Bronze, however, I hate this. At 11 points. It went from 9 to 11. So at 11 points, this is a character that's been countered a decent bit.
Brace for impact.
Is Shroud of Silent Mist. Oh.
I'm so sorry.
You were talking about an understood spirit. This might be one of the most misunderstood spirits.
This is the most misunderstood spirit.
T-Ips, you feel my pain. I hate this.
I think some people are the most apprehensive towards the spirit in playing. They just don't understand Mist, so they must think it's bad or weak.
Right, no, and I feel it. I understand the emotion behind it. I mean, Mist can appear significantly slower than a lot of other spirits when you compare them side by side. Mist has a very strange mechanic that is exclusive to them unless you have Spreading Rot in the game. But, you know, as they're not really official, Mist is like the only one that really cares about, pay attention in the time passes phase. Not a whole lot of people have to pay attention in the time passes phase.
No.
But Mist players do. And, people don't like having to be restricted into certain elements sometimes because, well, it's crucial that I need my energy and I get my energy if I ignore fire. But I like a lot of fire cards. So, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying I love them so much. It's so hard to see them with all these countered points. Like, ow.
What's hard for me is in being a part of a play group that has a Mist main player, and we've gone against top level adversaries. So I've seen Mist literally wreck games.
Play so well.
Play so well and just honestly carry the team.
Yeah.
So when I see this, I'm so befuddled where I don't get it. Where like, what my experience with Mist is they're very strong. Not third worst.
Yeah.
So that's what's shocking to me.
That's 3rd place. That's bronze.
Yeah.
Fool's Bronze. The Fool's Silver. This one makes a lot of sense. With
One of them.
17 points.
One of them makes a lot of sense.
17. Oh!
That's a jump.
We went from 9 to 11, which was like, but then 11 to 17. Nightmare and Base Shadows.
Base Shadows you can have. Literally,
oh my goodness.
The designer of the game has apologized for Shadows. We understand Shadows.
And they fixed Shadows.
We are
Shadows.
no surprise here.
But Bringer? No. I don't agree
Nightmare,
with Bringer.
I mean, I could see it, but I mean...
I think this is another scared to play, don't understand, not leaving the board
Not even
spirit.
gonna bother kind of thing.
Yeah, not gonna bother, they must be bad.
Right. I mean, when it comes to Base Shadows, this was the easiest one to see coming.
This is accepted.
This is the one that nobody is surprised to see because, I mean, it's Base Shadows. The joke is ancient at this point. And so to see that they got countered by max level adversaries to a point to yield them 17 countered points, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Bringer just not being able to directly destroy things.
These fear spirits is not being understood well.
When it comes to Bringer, it's like the Razor's Edge gameplay.
Of course.
Sure, there is a ridiculous power that Bringer has.
The ceiling that Bringer can achieve in fear.
But also that
fence
that you're balancing on is also like really narrow. And I'm guessing a ton of players really don't want to take
They
that
want something a little more straightforward, simple, plastic leaving the board, makes sense to them.
Yep. I am shocked that base shadows took silver. I thought they were going to get gold. Did you not?
I mean,
that's the one. That's the one.
That's the meme.
That's the meme. They're the character. It's them. But they're not the one who got Fool's Gold.
Who got gold?
At 21 points.
What?
20.
That's a lot of points.
21 points. Remember, you only get 5 points for a single gold medal in the worst. So to have 21 points.
This is a lot of first place finishes in
that's
bottom 5.
A lot. Comes base Earth.
Wow.
I'm so sorry,
What?
Ryan.
Wow.
Base Earth? Well, Base Earth is like one of the best beginner spirits ever.
I don't see it.
I honestly really don't.
Good starting kit can
There's
go
a
for
lot
majors.
of value there. I'm not going to say that they're the most dynamic spirit or they're the ones that has like the most outlandish offensive craziness
Dude,
thing.
if you do a majors build Earth, you'll have fun.
And I cannot tell you how many times I have said you can take a low complexity character to the high difficulties and still succeed.
Yes.
And have meant that statement about Earth.
Yes.
And I
Against
still
level
mean
6
it.
adversaries, you can win with Earth. Yes.
It's possible. It's doable. But still, to see someone who's so friendly to the newer players and then just...
It is surprising where Shadows didn't win this.
Our voters said that base Earth gets countered the absolute most. Whether it was where they were placed in all these bottom 5s or how many times they showed up.
A little bit of both.
Base Earth had 21 points. And there's your weighted bottom 5. Immense Lightning, Memory, and Minds did pretty good at 1 point. Travel, River, Volcano, still good at 2 points. Green and Trickster, 3 points. That's not a whole lot. Lure, River, and Wildfire at 4 points.
Great spirits.
That's still good.
That's
pretty
fine.
good. Decent jump to 8 points with Serpent and Base Lightning.
Yeah, their problems.
9 points, Fangs, Finder, and Ocean.
Our mains.
Literally A and S tier spirits right there. But they probably get countered specifically, but countered hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, missed at 11.
Misunderstood.
I'm just going to move on. Bringer of
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood.
and Base Shadows at
The asterisk.
17. Yeah. But then Base Earth at 21 points.
That feels wrong. That feels wrong.
And that's just the number of countered points, but how many times did each of those peeps show up? Because that's actually a really big fact. That's an important detail to not leave out.
How many appearances?
Right. So, in the case of Green, Trickster, Volcano, Immense Lightning, Shifting Memory, Lure, Many Minds, River, and Travel River, they all showed up a single time.
So only had one.
So each of their points, however many points those spirits got,
They only got countered once.
a single time.
That's
they
not
showed
bad.
up.
Against 7?
One time.
Wow.
Out of 7 adversaries, only one adversary was good enough to counter them to some degree in our voters' opinion.
And if you listen to these spirits, these are all
look at that
strong.
lineup.
These are strong spirits.
Green, Trickster, Volcano, Immense Lightning, Travel River, Base River, Shifting Memory, Lure, Many Minds. These are solid. Did you hear that? Spirits that are capable of just going ham. So it totally makes sense that these were the ones that showed up just one time. This one surprises me and doesn't surprise me for this next one.
Okay.
For the peeps that only showed up twice. Because one of them makes sense and one of them's like, since when do these two share
anything?
A tier? Base Lightning and Fangs.
Whoa.
How about that? No, like, no joke.
No, seriously.
How about that?
How about that?
Only 2 times. Fangs and Base Lightning showed up. So Base Lightning and Fangs, this means that they are pretty highly regarded widely amongst the adversaries. But since they only showed up twice, this means that, hey, 2 out of 7? That's not so bad.
Yeah.
That means you are pretty good against 5 of the adversaries.
Yeah, a majority. A big majority.
That's really good. To the people who only showed up 3 times, this is still less than half.
Less than half. Still the majority.
So if you only showed up 3 times, that means 4 adversaries you are still good against. So generally speaking, to me, that means that these people who I'm about to read, generally speaking, are good.
They're strong spirits.
And if you're going up against any random adversary, this is not a bad pick. Finder, Serpent, Ocean, and Wildfire. Wow, those spirits have some brawn.
Oh, yeah.
Serpent, Ocean,
Ocean's been S tier since 2017.
Wildfire?
Yeah,
Like,
Wildfire.
It totally makes sense when you think about it. Sure, 3 appearances. That means only 3 really counted them hard. Maybe.
I guess I'm most surprised that Ocean's appeared this many times. People love Ocean.
Yeah.
They vote for Ocean.
Seriously.
Ocean's strong.
Yeah.
Opens up the Ocean tile. I'm surprised they got 3.
Right.
Yeah.
But these are the spirits that aren't widely bad, according to the votes, but rather directly countered, perhaps.
Yeah, a few times.
In the specific matchups where that happens. The next few are,
we're getting into the majority here, Ryan.
That last tier, by the way, that was the Fool's Bronze for Finder, Serpent, Ocean, Wildfire.
What's silver?
Once again, another top 3, or in this case, bottom 3 appearance for Mist at 5 appearances. Out of the 7 adversaries, 5. That means that according to the opinions of the people who voted, Mist is usually a bad pick against any adversary.
So I went back and tried to listen to a few of our episodes, prepare for the episodes. I do some homework sometimes.
Lots of there's time.
Yeah, so when we would talk about bottom 5s, again, we would go through the list and like Ryan would say, Mist would appear a lot.
A lot.
And then we would break down and be like, actually, Mist isn't bad here. If you just like took a second to
know how to play.
If you know how to play, if you took a second to look at the spirit, like, actually, this counters a lot of what France is doing. Or,
Yeah, but reputations have their effect and consequence.
As the great Taylor Swift said, my reputation precedes me.
Well done, Lo. That was in key. Maybe it wasn't.
Well,
and
she never is either.
Oh!
Anyway,
she's better in studio.
Big Machine Records. In first place, this actually is quite interesting to me. Before, Bringer and Base Shadows were in second place with 17 points, and Base Earth had 21 points. Yet all 3 of those, Nightmare, Base Shadows, and Base Earth, appeared 6 times on a bottom 5.
So they all appeared 6 times.
So in that way, they're all equal in the number of times they appeared.
Again, Bringer and Earth surprised me. We all know about Shadows, right?
We all know about Shadows,
but Earth and
Bringer, and Nightmare, yeah.
I thought people love Bringer and Earth. Like you said, some of people's first favorite spirits. Very interesting.
So you're not surprised at that. If someone's going to have a lot of points in the weighted list, they're probably going to have decent placement, and they probably showed up a lot. One thing that's interesting is that there were a few spirits that never showed up in a bottom 5
Some strong
ever.
Spirits, I'm guessing.
Who are these guys?
Okay, who
we got?
Who we got?
Downpour, Fractured Days.
Shocked.
I'm actually shocked at that, believe it or not. Keeper, Stone, Starlight, Vengeance,
Floored.
What?
I'm on the floor.
And Thunder Speaker.
Well,
okay, Thunder Speaker, the OG MVP right there.
Let's get some of them out of the way. Thunder Speaker,
Okay,
Keeper.
the ones that don't surprise me. Thunder Speaker. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Keeper. Definitely.
S+ tier.
Stone. Oh, yeah, sure.
Sure.
Downpour.
Yeah.
Defense at the wazoo.
What surprises me, Fractured, Starlight, and Vengeance.
Vengeance, I thought people were down on.
Now, it's not that they aren't actually capable of awesome success, because they are. That's not what surprises me. It's interesting to see community opinions on certain things, and I would have assumed that these spirits who are incredibly difficult to actually...
We got 2 high complexities on this list. Fractured and Starlight. Yeah.
It's so hard to actually play these spirits to understand
very
them.
High complexity.
Yes, very high complexity. And yet, they never showed up. I mean, people aren't even reading the special rule for fangs, okay? How the heck are you getting Fractured right, but you can't even get fangs? What the heck?
Okay, so then you play the card, and then you reclaim it, and then you play it again from your hand, and then you move the invader deck around.
And then you have Starlight, what?
17 different growth paths.
And then Vengeance just completely blighting.
Blight is good now.
Right, all this is fine.
Thanks.
All you do is
exchange your presents for 1 beast token.
It's so easy. But point being, of all the spirits who could very much be
a bottom 5 contender,
wielded incorrectly or have a miasma of they're just too hard for me, so I don't even...
Fractured Days.
It's Fractured. It's Starlight, and it's Vengeance. So it's comedically interesting, okay?
Yeah, it's funny.
I'm not hating on any of these spirits. Like I said, Thunder Speaker, oh yeah, totally. Keeper, oh yeah, definitely. Stone, sure. Downpour, oh yeah, definitely.
Of course.
But then Fractured, Starlight, Vengeance, yeah, I get it. They can all be like really
good.
really successful. But at the same accessibility that Stone or Keeper or Downpour has? Okay, cool. Maybe other people just took to those spirits a lot faster than I did.
He was just like wrecking Fractured.
Yeah, they could. They totally could. That's entirely fair, and it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
So now let's go ahead and look at the weighted top 5.
Top 5!
Let's go ahead and get some good vibes in the house. We have a top 13. In the same way, and yet opposite for the bottom 5. The bottom of a bottom 5 meant that you were pretty good. The bottom of a top 5 meant that you were, okay, you're barely here. But, you're still here.
You're
so
still a top spirit.
Take it. Yeah. I'll take it. With 1 point... is shot as Silent Miss.
Hey!
We out here. We participating.
Against.
Ryan, was that your vote?
We don't vote on
We don't vote.
Oh, we're not supposed to vote? Oops.
Ryan and I don't vote on our polls.
We never voted on the polls, so this wasn't us. This wasn't any of our kind of influence. But the thing that's interesting is with 1 point, that means that it had to have been 5th place and a single time. For that is the only way to get 1 point. And of all...
What's the most interesting part, Ryan? What is it?
For Mist to not only...
It's probably Sweden, right?
Not
Difficulty
show
8.
up on a bottom 5,
it's probably
but
Sweden.
to show up on a
Brandenburg,
top
Prussia?
5
Is it Brandenburg, Prussia?
was England.
What?
What?
The hardest adversary in the game?
The one
Mist is
with
good at?
bonus
Someone
health?
is delusional about Mist.
Hey, I see it. I'm just so
No,
happy.
I actually see it too. I actually think Mist is very good against
It's fun to be confused and surprised by these numbers sometimes. Like, hey, how
back and
about
forth.
that?
How about that?
At 2 points comes in Starlight, Immense Lightning, Shifting Memory, and Bringer.
Oh.
What's interesting here is that Shifting Memory was also pretty low on the weighted bottom 5. And here, once again, they're low on the top 5.
It's not really voted on.
They can be anything.
They can be anything.
They can be anywhere. In the same way Starlight's here. They can be anything.
That's true.
So it makes sense, but only 2 points. That means they never really showed up a whole lot.
Either one appearance or just a couple appearances.
Same can be said with Immense Lightning and Bringer. Now, Immense Lightning, I thought I would have seen a little bit more.
Me too. That's a strong spirit.
But then again, they have just standard basic brawn.
Yeah.
And these are specifically the counterpoints.
True.
Meaning, how good are you at countering?
France,
Not
Russia.
how good are you at just being cool and strong.
Because Immense, one could argue, is kind of like Shifting Memory. Well, whatever majors you get, that's how strong you are.
Right.
That's very true.
And Bringers here, what do they really counter specifically? Like when you look at their kit, you're like, who do they really counter? Because that's what these points are, the counter points.
Sure.
They got 2 of them. Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. They're just rushing through the fear deck, and they can do that against anyone.
And
but it doesn't really
generically
counter.
good, but some people are good against that against others. Scotland is England,
or even Russia if you go too fast on fear.
Right,
you
depending
get
on
bombs
the
in your
timing.
face.
Right,
yeah.
At 3 points comes Fractured, Keeper, and Serpent.
Ooh.
Who's
which makes
floored
sense
about Keeper being this low?
You know,
They're
in the
boring.
exact same way, the spirits who have low counterpoints are usually the spirits that are generally good.
Okay.
But maybe not specifically good. Serpent is generally good because they can just wipe the floor of anyone so long as they get to the late game. Keeper has the money, they can really do anything. Fractured is...
What's your Days That Never Were deck?
Right, exactly, yeah. So that totally makes sense. And 3 points, that's,
a couple
decent,
appearances.
but that's not
maybe
really
1 or
all
2
that
appearances,
great. Yeah. At 4 points, Many Minds comes in.
Top 10.
Another generally good spirit
Way to
here.
be, Many Minds. Way to be.
Like I've said, listen to this, T-Ips. One of the best stallers in the game because you have to spend
if
a lot
not
of
the best.
Ooh.
Like, seriously, I mean, Earth is ridiculously good,
But
Green
not
is
that much
ridiculously
fear.
good,
But not as
and
much
Many
fear.
Minds is ridiculously
The
good.
most fear.
Yeah, but they all have different
Sure.
tertiary and secondary focuses also.
Yeah.
But at 4 points, that's not enough to be like, oh, I counter a lot of adversaries and or I counter certain adversaries a ton. Because with 4 points, a single gold medal appearance would be more than 4 points.
True.
So that means that anyone that we've discussed never got gold.
Nope.
Not even once. Many Minds, Fractured, Keeper, Serpent, Starlight, Immense Lightning,
Never
Memory,
got
Bringer,
gold in
Mist.
anything.
None of them got gold.
But they appeared in the
because-
top 5, so it is
Yeah.
cool.
They're there.
It's cool.
No, I know.
They're
But I'm
there.
just
They
saying,
showed
like,
up.
what do the numbers mean?
Yeah, good point.
Now that we are about to go into the 5-pointers, we are starting to talk about people who could have made at least 1 gold appearance.
And
Many of them
definitely have
didn't.
made at least multiple top
Ones that made multiple appearances.
Yes.
Yep. That is what high value numbers and the counterpoints mean. Next, at 5 points is Foreboding Shadows, Stone, and Volcano.
Who would have thought Shadows is next to Stone on anything?
Yeah. Stone, I see it. Stone is a
Stone's
generically
amazing.
good spirit, but does have...
generically good.
Yeah, but they
That's
do
Keeper in a
have
nutshell.
some pretty good specific counters also.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Like when I think about Stone, that's the kind of mental framework I have them under.
When I think of Stone, I think of Habsburg.
Yeah. Foreboding Shadows, we hardly ever saw. So do you know what this means? They countered someone specific.
But how cool is it what an aspect can do?
Yeah,
To a
seriously.
bottom tier spirit.
Seriously.
To make some appearances on a
Right.
top 5.
Right. And
Because it
Very
doesn't
true.
change the kit.
same tier as
To
Stone.
Shadows.
That's
Yeah.
high praise. And
Like-
Volcano, we talked about how solid they were.
Love watching Volcano be played.
Volcano's so fun.
Right, but for Volcano and Shadows to be on the same level in
Weird.
something, that's
Well done.
awesome.
It's so cool what Foreboding brings in the second innate because the cards aren't changed, the bad tracks for Shadows aren't changed, but that innate can do so much. And
Seriously.
clearly the community sees that.
Seriously. Moving on up to 6 points comes in Downpour.
Whew.
What a phenomenal spirit. We're talking about a character that can heal you, that can
Yes.
defend,
Bring
and not
you
just
back.
defend, but probably the ultimate defender.
Yes, the best defender.
Other people can defend in the form of prevention, but I'm talking about like defense in the normal standard way of blocking
Another
damage.
great staller.
Nobody can do it as
Yeah.
good as Downpour can. Can also isolate, can heal teammates,
Yeah.
can make lands into wetlands, which has some seriously dangerous,
Really good-
yet sometimes undervalued potential, but still
Yeah.
huge, especially when you play with someone who's on Team Water, who uses wetlands.
Oh, yeah. And sneaky, extremely good at damage.
Right.
So good. And fear. And what I like about Downpour, whatever you get becomes that spirit because you can spam
Right.
cards.
Right.
That is so fun to play where every experience I've had with Downpour, I've done fear, I've done defense, I've done attack. Like, whatever I pick up at the minor or major deck and I start spamming and repeating,
Yeah.
it's just a fun time with Downpour.
And every now and then, there exists in this game avenues where one notably strong thing that shouldn't be ignored
Yeah.
is possible, but only when a very specific teammate is on your team. And so it's like worth to remember when
Yeah.
that happens.
The wetlands.
Here's an example. For instance, my least favorite blight removal card in the game is Regrow from Roots from Keeper's starting hand, because it has 2 strings attached. Not only can it only go in a jungle or a wetland, but it also can only remove blight if there's a small amount of blight.
Right.
However, the thing is if you have Downpour on your team, those jungle or wetland restrictions, they can make
Lifted.
anything a
They're
wetland.
lifted.
One of those 2 strings gets cut. So now you only have to worry about half of those strings.
And
which is great.
There's a lot of cards in the game that focus on wetlands, and these are balancing tactics the designers put in. Like,
Right.
we don't want this card too strong. It's such a good card, it can only focus on certain types of lands.
Right.
But with Downpour in the game, that lifts
Right.
those restrictions.
Right, and it's also just one of the wonderful ways that this game has thematic sensibility. That's like, oh, that makes total sense because he's raining on the trees. Keeper is a tree spirit.
Yeah.
But then also, if you pair Keeper with Ocean, what if the ocean gets blighted because it counts as a wetland? I can heal it from wetlands.
Yeah.
Like, the tree and the ocean totally get along. Like, water, hello. Like,
Downpour is such a cool spirit.
in the same way, those kind of like crisscrossing established strengths from pairings start to appear, but only when specific pairings are in the game.
Yeah.
And so that's like one of the cool things. And Downpour does that for a lot of spirits.
I think one of the most like friendly spirits to other spirits. I think River is a good support friendly,
Yeah.
but Downpour can let Mist grow anywhere.
Right.
Or like you
True.
said, bring people back or
Yeah.
heal blights or let people repeat
Right.
cards. Downpour is such a good person to have on your team. That's not
Yeah.
really like a fractured so utility focus.
Right.
Because Downpour can handle their own
Oh,
board.
for Team Water, they love it.
Yeah.
Because, hey, I can make wetlands. Ocean's like, hey, cool, sweet. Then,
River's like, okay, sweet.
sweet, that's free sacred sites for River.
Mist is like, oh,
Mist,
cool.
I can spawn there
I
now.
can grow anywhere, yeah.
Sweet!
Yeah.
And it's just really cool to see that.
is
So
cool.
Downpour, it totally makes sense that Downpour's like in the middle of the pack with 6 points. At 7 points comes in Finder and Vengeance.
Yes.
Interesting pairing those two. Because one is like nothing but death. The other one's like anything but.
Yeah, I can't do death. I have responsibilities to the death.
Right,
Yeah.
seriously. But 7 points. Now that we have at least 7 points and higher, we are talking about characters that showed up enough times that it's possible that they showed up once every time in 5th place or something. Or if not that, they showed up in denominations that weren't 5th place.
I guess what I'm confused about, I love Finder, I love Control,
Yeah.
but I would always think in my head that Finder's more difficult than a Mist. Finder has no fear, can't kill things, or doesn't have the capabilities early on. With Mist, you can generate fear, you can have control, you can do fear.
And a ton of damage.
With some of these things, I thought Finder would be more difficult, especially with that growth bridge track.
Yeah.
I thought they would be, like, less voted on or something.
But the strength of that growth bridge track, the ridiculous ludicrosity, I know it's not a word, but
I love
it, of their extreme control.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just control, it's ridiculous control.
It's the best control.
And so, to that degree,
it's hard to be ignored.
It's kind of hard to be ignored.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see Vengeance this high.
No, I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. And we didn't see them a whole lot, which means that whoever they countered someone pretty well. Then, with 8 points, comes in Base Lightning.
One of the OGs.
8 points is pretty decent.
For a low complexity spirit.
Right.
From the base game.
That's a few appearances. Or a few high placements, or both.
For a spirit that has not a lot of downsides, but one really big downside.
But they have notable and famous drawbacks that are known.
Yeah.
So I also am very happy to see them.
I'm happy to see them. It's fun to play them. It's fun to give people Lightning Spoon. People lose their mind over Lightning Spoon.
Oh, yeah.
I can make this fast, 2 of them. So it's just fun to play with. I don't know. Lightning's a good time.
Yep. This next one makes total sense to me. At 9 points, Ocean, Wildfire, and Green.
That's a strong 5th place.
That is a solid group of spirits right there.
Give me those 3. I think I can win every game I play with those 3.
Pretty much. I mean, Wildfire, Green, that pair alone can go the distance.
And Ocean can handle its
own. Right. So we're talking about spirits here, now that we're getting to the high numbers, that are either highly good at countering. We're not talking about general quality, though that may be true still, but their kind of quality.
Now it's both.
Right. The kind of quality they have is one that is very specifically beneficial against adversaries.
Yeah.
And a lot of them.
How cool is it to see Wildfire this high?
I love it.
For us who have been following this game for a long time, where Wildfire was dogged.
Right. They didn't even exist.
Weren't even played.
They weren't even on people's bottom tier list because they weren't even being recognized. Like, oh, they exist? I keep forgetting.
A spirit that blights when they grow? No, thank you.
Heck no.
Now they're in 5th place as one of the best counter picks to 7 adversaries in the game.
Right.
Incredible.
I really hope that conveys the strength and allure that Wildfire should have in people's minds.
I want to see Wildfire keep rising up the ranks. I think they're incredibly strong spirits.
The next one kind of surprises me.
Which
I don't mind. But at 10 points, Trickster. How about that?
What?
4th place, Trickster. With 10 points, outdoing Ocean, Green, Wildfire, Keeper even, Stone.
Immense Lightning.
Downpour. How about that?
Here's my defense for Trickster. Yes, they are very much countering some specific adversaries, specifically France and Sweden. I understand that, but I think because they are such a good start to mid-level game spirit, where they can let other spirits grow. I'm just going to strife everything. You grow, don't worry about your land, focus on your tracks. I am going to keep the invaders at bay. I'm going to make them infight with each other.
Right.
So you Keeper, so you Earth can grow and get strong. I think Trickster is a secretly good support spirit in that way.
What's really interesting and funny is when you look at who is on the top of this weighted top 5 totals, like who's in the top numbers, the high numbers, and thinking about what do they actually bring to the table. It's kind of fun to theorize and think about why they are there.
Why is Trickster in 4th place?
So, in 3rd place, the Bronze with 11 counterpoints.
Wow.
This means that these spirits are pretty good. They have a good countering potential. Is Lure, which totally makes sense.
The new toy from Jagged Earth.
But paired with Fangs?
What?
Fangs also 11 points.
No, they were one of the worst. They're the bottom 5.
And Fangs. Wow. I was shocked when I saw that. I was like, for realsies?
Bronze.
How about that?
Fangs got bronze.
Fangs! Lure totally makes sense.
They're on the podium with Lure.
Right, Lure's considered like the triple S tier spirit, like the best one in the game, can win by round 4 no matter who you're playing against or with.
Best boy.
But fangs on the same level as lure.
Did people finally read the special rule?
Now, of course, we're talking about the ability to counter all 7 adversaries and the general rating you have at doing so.
Isn't that how you measure a spirit, is against how well they do against top levels of this game? So Fangs is a top tier spirit.
Yes.
One could argue.
The prevention of build is so good.
Fear.
Your
damage.
non-damage cap on ranging hunt. The fact that you can just go and be pretty much anything you want. They have such a flexible platform.
Terrifying Chase, one of the best controlling uniques in the game because you can stack it and keep pushing things.
With ridiculous ease, you can shove 8 bad guys.
Easy.
It's not that hard.
No.
Just get 3 beasts in there.
River is jealous right now.
Get 3 beasts in there.
Yeah.
There you go. It's not so bad.
No,
Lord, do we really have to say why? I mean, come on. It's surprising how good ignoring explorers and breaking down buildings can go. How much value that has.
Yeah. So, Laura, you've told me Lure is a little bit slow for you. I feel like you're not as big a fan as the community with Lure.
Boring.
Wow.
They are a little bit slow. I mean, they have a lot of slow powers.
Here's my
They
problem.
only have one fast power.
I don't think through things very well. I don't plan ahead
They are
very
a spirit
well.
that benefits from setting up,
if you're
to
like
be sure.
me,
Like
and you're
turns
like,
ahead.
I just don't get Lure, that's fine. I know they're massively powerful, and that's awesome. I like being on a team with Lure. I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it, and it's great.
Okay.
Don't understand it, don't want to play it.
Also, I think that they are a token spammer, but it's every kind of token pretty much, with the exception of Strife.
And you gotta plan out where you put your tokens, because
right.
then you gotta plan out your damage. It is, Laura's right, a ton of planning.
And I always feel like you plan it out, and then things happen, and you're like, oh, crap.
They didn't go to my spot.
I spent all of that to do the things, and they didn't work.
They moved.
So.
And yet, there will be times, trust me, you'll be surprised how many times you go, ha! With a random token, and oh, hey, that actually worked.
Less often than you'd think.
Laura is not as lucky sometimes.
Hey, that's just RNG.
So Laura's like, I bring my own damage. Boom, volcano.
But when it comes to Dahan or Strife, that's the only thing they don't do. They do the rest.
They do every other token.
And so you have access to various things. Disease is really good against England.
Disease is highly valued in this game.
Beast, really good against Russia. They have it. Wild's really good against France. They have it.
A lot of adversaries.
Do you see what I mean about having, like, when there's a token that is very good against an adversary?
Ryan, extra health.
Oh, hey, wait a minute.
We break them down.
We break them down. They even get Badlands out there.
They do. They do fear. They do control. They do damage.
Right. They do prevention.
They do prevention.
They have a very good kit at doing it all.
They have good energy tracks. They have good bottom tracks.
So it makes total sense.
They have 2 reclaims.
Right, that they have 11.
Yeah.
But the fact that Fangs is also there with them is just like, oh, yes.
It makes me smile.
It really does.
If we went back and looked at data from a year ago, Fangs would not be
I think so.
I think
no,
people
for
have
real.
slowly, and you can see that through the community as people go, am I just not getting this right? And people are like, have you looked at this? Have you tried this? Heck, have you listened to the KSP podcast where Ryan goes on and on about how amazing Fangs is?
Oh, please.
France episode 1, #aggressive builds.
I think the community is helping each other learn how to play Fangs, and you've seen that over the past year.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Yep, that's it.
Ding dong.
Very well said.
Very well said.
At the overall silver with 13 points comes in
Base River!
Base River. Wow, what a shock. We saw them all the time.
Again and
How
again.
many times
Base
did
River.
we say? We even had the joke. Like, oh, look, it's River again.
Do they actually counter them?
It's almost as if they're a pretty good spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. And a low complexity spirit made 2.
Overall.
People at home, if you're just playing this game and you're like, oh, I played River, I'll move on and play other spirits. No, River's still good.
Seriously.
You don't need to put that spirit aside.
Overall silver with 13 points.
For the starting kit spirit. For like your first game type spirit.
Right. And it's kind of funny, like, what do they actually do? What is so specific? Because to have this amount of points means that you're going to have
a
lot of
something, right?
appearances.
Yeah.
Or in addition to a lot of appearances, you have very direct counters. Okay, so you must have something that's really good. It's just massive flooding.
It's massive.
Oh, it's funny how doing 2 damage to each invader will just really carry you.
Through every invader except one.
Except one. But still, no, base river. I love the fact, in exact same agreement with what you just said, John, that we have a spirit that is, for a lot of people, their very first, maybe even like second spirit that ever played.
My first love.
And it's a spirit that they can take all the way to the max. And not just to the max on one adversary, but on all of them.
Yes.
Second place for the best. When in doubt, river. I've said that. I've also said when in doubt, river and earth, but half of that statement is being exemplified here. When in doubt, base
play river.
I'm serious.
Odds are you're going to win your game.
Seriously. And at number 1, the undisputed champion,
Laura?
the gold medalist with 19 counterpoints. River was 13.
Laura?
It is bringer of dreams and
It is.
It's Thunder Speaker. No one is surprised. The undisputed GOAT. And yet, what do they actually do? How do they counter things? Well,
so when you said Thunder Speaker, you mispronounced manifestations of power and glory. Because that's why they're there. I'll say it.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Oh, the 60 damage you'll
80
do.
damage.
Dear Eric, if you ever sell an art print of just that card blown up magnified,
We would frame it. We would frame it. Because Laura loves that card.
It's hilarious how you don't really need to do a whole lot in your kit, but just, oh, hey, you're not really good here or good there, but you can do 80 damage. Oh, okay, never mind, right this way.
What did you say?
Okay, what about this adversary? Well, you're not so good here or
They have
over
extra
there.
health.
Not so good. Oh, but I can do 60 damage. Oh, right this way. Okay, well, what about that? Oh, well, they do adjacent builds and stuff. No, I'm not really good against this. Oh, these people that convert your Dahan. Oh, but I can do 70 damage. Oh, right this way.
VIP right here.
It's kind of like in Princess Bride when he goes up to the gatekeeper and he's like, give us the gate key. Oh, I have no gate key. Fezzik, tear his arms off. Oh, you mean this gate key?
I do love that scene on this one.
Thunder Speaker shows up. I'm the undisputed GOAT. Are you really, though? Manifestation power. Like, oh, right this way.
You definitely are the GOAT. No,
Oh,
no
the
deny.
places you'll go
No
when
deny.
you can just have outrageously big amounts of damage that can just kick the teeth in of literally anybody.
If only they also had an innate that didn't care about extra health either. That
Right.
just did destroy. Wait a second.
That just destroys things.
This is pops towns and cities like it's nothing. Strong spirit.
Yeah, incredibly strong spirit. Arguably the ultimate attacker.
Yep.
I mean, what can you really say? In the same way that Finder had ridiculous control, Downpour had ridiculous defense. But who can really stand up to just unrelenting torrents of undisputable damage?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, how can you just say, oh yeah, I did like 55 damage and next
buildings
turn...
having extra health doesn't matter when it's like 9 health worth of buildings against 60 damage.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Seriously,
Who
like,
cares?
it covers a multitude, and in this case, literally every single adversary. Nobody can stand up to that.
I can hear the person at home yelling in the back, but disease events can damage Dahan. So,
Yeah.
quick tip, don't put your Dahan in lands with disease. There you go. Because disease can destroy the land that attacks invaders and Dahan typically.
Right.
Since you're so mobile, don't go on a land with disease.
But it was a good, like, 60% of events do something with Dahan.
Yeah.
And if you're Thunder Speaker, you're probably gonna get hit with every single one of those bonuses.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Extra
if you have
Dahan.
at least 4 Dahan amongst your lands.
Energy.
Yeah.
Reclaim cards. More Dahan.
Reclaiming cards that you forgot in the past.
Sure, why not?
Why not? Oh, more energy. Oh, hey, look,
Healing
another
Blight.
Dahan. I
More-
wonder who could take advantage of that. It's me. But the thing ultimately that makes me the most happy with this is the fact that Thunder Speaker to me is the champion of the message of Spirit Island. They are the ones that are fighting the face of the colonialist threat the most directly.
Yeah.
And if there was anyone who I would want to have the
Number one.
ultimate number one, it's this. Mechanically, I love it. And thematically, I love it even more because they are taking the Dahan, rallying them against what is really happening
The colonization.
here,
Yep.
and taking it, no, this is our island. And it's the one where it's like, get off! And not just get off, but get off, pound your teeth in, get off. Not just, slightly slap on the wrist. No, they're going to kick your teeth in. Right.
We've talked in the past how Eric is probably smiling knowing that so-and-so is doing well, that Foreboding Shadows helped out Base Shadows.
Right.
I hope, Eric, you are smiling knowing that Thunderspeaker, like Ryan said, that this message of anti-colonialism is embodied in Thunderspeaker. Is the most top-voted spirits in all our polls.
19 points.
19 points.
19 counterpoints. And it's just so poetically fitting.
So fitting.
So fitting.
Love that. I cannot describe adequately just how much I love that. So that is your weighted top 5 overall. With 1 point, Mist came in. Yes, they got there. That's what matters. Starlight, Immense Lightning, Memory, and Bringer all had 2 points. At 3 points, Serpent, Keeper, and Fractured. At 4 points, Many Minds. At 5 points, Volcano, Stone, and Foreboding. Oof. At 6 points, Downpour. 7 points, Finder and Vengeance. 8 points, Lightning. At 9 points, Green, Wildfire, Ocean. At 10 points, Trickster. At 11 points, Lure and Fangs.
Yes.
At 13 points, Base River. And at 19 points, Thunderspeaker.
Well done.
Like I said, it was kind of fun to see how as the number of points increased, so did the directness of the spirit on how they counter. Like we have generically good people at the bottom and specifically good people at the top. Yeah.
It is cool, too, that a lot of base game spirits made it high.
I love that.
Green, Ocean,
and that's
River,
seriously
Thunderspeaker.
Really important. If you have just the base game and you want to go up against any of these high-level adversaries and you don't even have a single promotional pack or you don't have a single expansion, you still have Thunderspeaker. You still have River. You still have Green. You still have Ocean. These spirits got a ton
top 5
value from the community as far as like how the votes came in. So you are always salient. You always have access to a character that can do the work and do it well, no matter who you're fighting. But now let's go ahead and in the same way, look at how many times each of these people showed up.
So this is actually really interesting to me, the appearances. How many times do they counter someone?
So, Stone, Many Minds, Fractured, Starlight, Serpent, Immense Lightning, Shifting Memory, Mist, and Bringer all showed up 1 time.
The biggest surprise to me was Starlight. We had talked about many times in our episodes. Like,
Shifting Memory can be anything. That's fine.
I didn't think Starlight was going to make it on here.
I can see it, but I would have thought.
I'm happy it did.
I would have thought that making any power fast would be really good. Or doing the whole do 2 damage in the growth phase, maybe.
Good control, good defense. They can be anything.
I thought Piece of the Nighttime Sky would be a lot more salient because it's like auto defense in the early game, which
2 lands
against some adversaries is clutch.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Mist showed up 1 time and got 1 point, so it was 5th place. That's what that means. But hey, they showed up.
Dude, Stone, only 1 appearance.
Interesting.
I've seen
that actually surprises me.
I've seen a lot of S or A tier on tier lists.
Yep.
Only 1 appearance.
The next one is quite interesting. With 2 appearances, Vengeance, Keeper, and Foreboding Shadows.
Wow. That's cool. So, Foreboding and Keeper in the same
with 1 or 2 appearances from the people that we've described, in this case 2 appearances, this means that people thought they only were a good counter 2 times, out of the 7.
Out of 7, not the
best.
best.
So generally speaking, this means that these characters don't really counter too well, but they're still good.
Yeah.
Keeper, in the general sense, I'm still surprised that Keeper isn't someone that we saw a whole lot.
I think everyone in this room said it's like Keeper's just good because rich, so they don't really directly counter anyone.
Vengeance makes sense because they wallow in the blight so much, and some adversaries, you probably don't want that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we talked about those adversaries and how we think that they can really be useful in a lot of those areas, but a lot of people still aren't comfortable with that kind of gameplay style, so that makes sense to me. That's fair.
Look, I'm just happy that Shadows made it once, let alone twice.
Right. The adversaries that do something with blight, Vengeance will appear really good with.
Yeah.
But the adversaries that don't really do a whole lot, we never really saw Vengeance there.
Vengeance doesn't come to people's minds as quickly.
In Foreboding's case, I am so happy that they made the top 5.
They showed up.
35 spirits.
They showed up twice.
2 times they showed up twice.
Voted on worst spirit of all time.
Right. And now
1 in 8 changes everything, apparently.
And, hey, as if this wasn't proof enough that that Foreboding statistically is the favorite. I feel it.
It's amazing what one moon can do.
It's amazing. What could one moon do for you?
Yeah, exactly.
With 3 appearances, we have a lot of peeps.
Now we're getting to almost halfway.
Downpour, Finder, Ocean, Trickster, Volcano, Wildfire, and Green.
Dude, what a strong list.
I'm surprised that Downpour and Green are on the same level as Trickster and Volcano.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like, Green? Really?
I think Green would appear
3
on
appearances.
more. Yeah.
This means that, according to the votes, 4 out of the adversaries they didn't show up on. 3 they did.
Yeah.
This means that generally less than half they're actually good against.
Weird.
Interesting.
Because
so that means usually don't pick them.
But
what?
But it's almost unanimously that Green is the best spirit in the game.
When in doubt, Green.
When in doubt, Green. You want to grow? Green.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see Green only 3 times.
Yeah.
Yet they had so many points that was good placement.
I think
for them.
for Ocean's case, like we've said, Jagged Earth just kind of put the Nerf gun on Ocean a little bit.
Base game, Ocean was just reigning supreme.
Wrecking.
And then a new league showed up and
Tisk.
Yes.
Light the ocean, explore, swim back, town, swim back.
Town, swim back when you try to drown him with Habsburg. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's a little
ironically, Scotland can help you there, though, because they can blight your ocean.
Hey, double adversary.
You did this. You did this to yourself.
You did this.
Downpour showing up 3 times. I would have thought that we
More?
would have seen them more, personally, but I guess it makes sense. 3 appearances. But that's middle of the pack.
I'm honestly not surprised
fair.
with Finder only 3, because again, high complexity, difficult spirit.
Sure. Trickster, I think that's a compliment to show up this many times, because they're just so random.
Literally, RNG spirit.
Right. So 3 times
see what
compared
happens.
to Green? What?
Weird.
Wildfire, hey, let's not forget, they do have infinite damage.
Yeah.
That does have a lot of value.
Firestorm, OP.
Right.
Really good.
Now, like we said in Thunderspeaker's case, when is the difference between infinite damage versus 75 damage really that big of a deal? Because if you had 75 damage, that's probably going to cover literally any problem you might have.
Twice over.
So, like, the difference of, when is 75 damage not enough? So you needed to go to infinite instead. Like, not the most crucial, but still, infinite damage is still infinite damage. It's pretty nice.
Oh, it's extremely good. And I think Volcano, almost generic in a way.
Right, splash damage is pretty useful.
Great,
and against the blight peeps.
Can use majors.
Right.
It can bring itself back. Like
Habsburg is considered one of the big new kids on the block.
Exactly.
And Volcano is just like, hey, blight, bam.
But I totally see Volcano only getting 3.
Yeah, honestly. That's totally fair for me. Yep. I'm not surprised to see Wildfire here. I'm like, hey, cool. Volcano and Trickster are here. Sure. Ocean's here. Finder's here.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm mildly surprised by Downpour, but I'm okay with it. But it's Ocean and Green that I'm like, really? With how much Ocean is touted?
Yeah.
But especially Green. But whatever. That's fine. More on that in a bit.
Ooh.
The next batch of people showed up 4 times.
Okay.
So now we're past the halfway point.
Over halfway.
So more than half of the adversaries, these 3 did very good against. Once again, Lure and Fangs sharing the same tier. They even shared the same points at 4 appearances.
Wow.
People are loving Fangs.
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
So happy, Ryan.
And Base Lightning joins them with 4 as well.
Another kind of got nerfed a little bit with Jagged Earth because Russia kind of sucks and Habsburg kind of sucks for Lightning.
But look at that grouping of 3. Lure, Fangs, and Base Lightning. What an interesting trio.
Yeah.
Like, no, seriously, they're all very different.
One's super offensive, one's more control focused, one's more fear and offense.
Right. But I mean, they all have offense, they all have some
true.
form of control.
They
but
all
in
have
different ways.
That's a good point, Ryan. They all have like multiple fingers and pies. Maybe that's why they are able to counter
and
multiple
varying
adversaries.
amounts of fear. In
Fear's
Lightning's
good.
case, it's more because they're just killing people.
But still fear.
Right. And Harbingers of Lightning is still good, but it's Base Lightning that made it this far. And Base Lightning can't use that card as well as...
without Pandemonium.
Right. Pandemonium can. But still, 4 appearances, Base Lightning, Fangs, or Lure. If you're going up against a max level adversary,
Bring one of these.
those are 3 that are a really good pick. And then with 5 appearances.
Wow.
I'm totally okay with this development.
Okay.
River and Thunderspeaker both showed up.
They shared
5 times.
Wow.
It's almost as if they're really good.
They're really good. But I didn't think they would share. I don't know. I thought Thunderspeaker would have got
just dominated.
Hey, like we said, if you had a ton of counterpoints, you're probably going to have a lot of appearances also.
I'm also happy that no spirit was countering all 7.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because that's just too easy.
It's not the insta-win. Like, Keeper didn't show up on here, like, countering all 7. I'm happy that when we talk about meta and how we don't really like meta, or you have to play this one thing to win, there isn't that with Spirit Islands.
I'm okay with there being a meta so long as it's not vindictively enforced.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And it's not the only way to win.
Right. Or it's enforced with a very negatively opinionated demeanor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're not playing them? Oh, you're stupid. You shouldn't be doing that. Don't even bother. Like, it should
You're
be.
not gonna win.
Oh, like, this is the meta character, but you're playing them? Hey, cool. Good for you.
I think to John's point, you can win with almost any spirit.
Yeah,
as long as you know
against
how to
someone.
play it. So there really isn't a meta of, like, you can only win if you're playing this spirit under these conditions.
Right.
I've won level 6 with Shadows.
Yeah. We went up against Sweden with Finder and Mist.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we wanted to do that was to make it clear that you can beat adversaries even if you're not a counterpick.
Yeah.
Just like Lightning and Earth against England 6. That's what we did.
Honestly.
Yeah. Now, I'm very happy with this next little fun fact here because I thought that this is actually really cool. Unlike the bottom 5, the top 5 has a little offshoot sibling, the honorable mentions. How does the honorable mentions affect things a little bit?
So we didn't give them points? Because they didn't make a top 5.
Right, that's not a top 5. But here are some interesting truths, though. Keeper and Green appeared the most in the honorable mention category with 3 appearances.
This feels to me like these are always good spirits. Maybe they're not exactly countering Habsburg.
Right.
But if they're on your team, you're not mad about it.
So when you combine both top 5 and honorable mention, Keeper showed up twice in the top 5, but 3 times in the honorable mention. So if you combine both top 5 and honorable mention and you label that combination of 2 lists as, oh, these are just pretty good, decent characters against this adversary, Keeper showed up 5 times.
Yep.
Green showed up 6 times.
Whoa.
Like, that is a ton. In line of that, River and Green lead the spirits, featuring in 6 out of the 7 adversaries when you include both honorable mention and the top 5.
Wow.
That totally makes sense. And for me, that makes me feel better because that is justice for Green.
Yeah.
So now River, Green, I get. Totally. It's
everyone but England.
Right. We were talking about how silly the last statistics sounded in Green's case because like, whoa. They are way more famous and way more known to be useful
than a trickster.
Than the same tier as Volcano and Finder and Downpour with only trickster? 3 appearances?
Yeah.
Well, when you consider the honorable mentions as well,
they
show
one of the best
up.
Spirits.
Yeah. 6 out of the 7 times.
Yep.
6 out of 7. If that doesn't convey to you that they are a spirit that is just phenomenal against high-level adversaries, that is the statistic that brings it home.
Yep.
Oh, look! River and Green, base game characters.
Yeah.
Once again,
good against 6 out of the 7 adversaries.
6 out of the 7. So, who never made it onto a top 5?
We're back to the sad.
These sad poor peeps.
No.
Actually, not a whole lot.
Okay, that's good.
So, Base Earth, Resilience Earth,
mad about that one,
and Might Earth.
More mad about that one.
Surprises me. Earth and all of their aspects never made it on any of the top 5s.
That's wrong.
No, I'm okay with Base Earth. I get it. Because we're talking about who is the top 5.
Yes.
Out of 35. So you would have had to either beat or tie 30 other spirits.
It's hard to do.
In order to get there. And that's not going to be easy to do against adversaries at their maximum. So I'm okay with that. Resilience Earth, maybe I thought I would have seen against Russia.
So Resilience Earth's like Sunshine. It's the forgotten aspect that people just don't play. Right. It's like, oh, we don't play it. I guess that's cool.
Yeah.
Like when in our Fun 5, no one voted for it.
Right.
The only one that no one voted for. So it's like Resilience.
I still liked that one.
I know you like Resilience. And I honestly like being in games with Resilience. You don't play.
Yeah.
It is like less interesting. interesting.
Okay.
Right. But then Might Earth.
Dude.
Now that's what surprises me.
Might Earth is Earth on steroids. I freaking love Might Earth.
Might Earth is ridiculous.
So
That's who
strong.
beat England 6.
Difficulty 11.
That's who got us our Terror 1 victory, was Might Earth.
Yeah.
But like we said before, they still would have had to have beaten or tie 30 other peeps in order to get there.
And the aspects aren't as played, so I would say, yeah, give the aspects of Earth another go.
Yeah. So that's Earth, who never made it onto a top 5. But Base Shadows, Madness Shadows, Amorphous, and Reach Shadows never made it either.
Base,
so the
we can just
only
go past.
version of Shadows that made it into the Mile High Club was Foreboding.
Nicely done, Foreboding.
As I said before, if that doesn't convey to you what our voters thought as which one truly has the best countering potential. Remember, this isn't basic brawn that we're talking about here. We're talking about countering. So Might Earth, let's remind ourselves we're not talking about basic strength and basic capabilities in general, but rather how good are they at countering. So Base, yeah, what can you really say?
Base Shadows, yep, we know.
Madness, you know, the Strife could have been pretty good against specific peeps like Sweden.
France.
France would have been good, but, you know, I can see it. That's fine. Reach, that one, yeah, that's just a better version
of Base.
Of Base Shadows.
You just don't have
that's
to pay
like
for
the
it
new
now.
normal.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that one. That one doesn't bother me. The only one that bothers me the most would probably be Amorphous.
Dude, Amorphous is strong.
Amorphous
Can we
is
keep
good.
saying that?
Seriously.
Amorphous is strong.
I mean, I
you don't die to
love
blight.
Amorphous.
You're so mobile. Zero range cards.
Range
you can go anywhere.
restrictions. You don't have to worry
Move
about
it
your
Dahan,
cards'
move
legalities
adjacently.
anymore.
Exactly.
Seriously.
And you have a good starting hand. I've touted. You get 8 fear in your starting hand. You have a good starting hand with shadows. And now you're so mobile. Amorphous is strong.
You can even Matrix dodge.
You can Matrix dodge. You don't die to blades. And now you're not losing your presence, which I do all the time with base shadows.
Sure, it's not as efficient as Mist with their Matrix dodge,
Exactly.
but still, you can Matrix dodge.
You can still do it.
Right, you can still do it, so not the worst. But those are the peeps that never made it onto a top 5. Earth and all of their aspects, and then Shadows and all their aspects except Foreboding.
With these 7 versions of Earth and Shadows, I would say, listeners, just try out the aspects again. Try out Amorphous, like we're saying.
Yeah.
Even Madness.
Right.
Resilience, give it a go. Might, play Might a couple times. You'll have
Seriously.
fun. Like, give these aspects another go. They're strong.
Here's an interesting statistic. Spirits who made it on both bottom 5 and top 5.
In the same...
Right,
in the same adversary.
So the one where we had divisive opinions, and this just makes me laugh for a lot of them. Like, what? And so
sometimes I just love the internet.
I know, sometimes I do. But what the heck? This first one, Wildfire against Habsburg.
I'm so confused.
What?
The
heck?
The blight weakens the town.
Are you kidding me?
Need the blight.
Wildfire's like
Laura,
the
what's
best
going on?
at countering Habsburg.
You don't like Wildfire? Tell me, what are people thinking?
I don't know how to play Wildfire.
Okay, so that's what they're thinking.
I honestly, when I think about this is just like one of those moments where it's like, what are you thinking?
What?
What is wrong with you?
They directly counter
The
Habsburg.
only explanation I'll take, the one credible explanation I'll take is just misunderstanding the spirit. Because it's like, hello, this is like the best counter ever. Some people saw it. That's why they made it onto the top 5. But still, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that might be the most shocking.
To me, that's the most drastic. What are you thinking? Wildfire for Habsburg? That's like saying scissors doesn't counter paper. Like, what are you thinking?
It directly counters it.
Some of us don't think these things
Well,
out
whatever,
very well.
that's fine.
Laura,
It gets a laugh.
Play Wildfire again. It's on the Steam version.
Like I said,
it is.
it's just a misunderstanding, I think, because the only credible thing is just the blight and the mismanagement of it. Sure, if you mismanage
you
it.
have your right innate heal.
But here's the thing,
blight.
even if you do mismanage, if you mismanage against Habsburg, that means that they're not getting their bonus health anymore.
Which is kind of a good thing.
Which is a great thing. Which means asphyxiating smoke can just go ham. Ugh.
That's okay. All right.
Next.
Compose thyself.
In Brandenburg's case, Serpent being on the bottom 5 and an honorable mention.
So people forgot about the area...
Elemental Aegis.
Yeah, the area effect defense.
Hey, this
that
one
just
makes
slipped people's
sense.
minds.
I mean, it's a simple understanding. They be slow, Brandenburg be fast.
Yeah, but, I mean,
Tried
Serpent
it,
still...
though? It's not the best. Yes, I understand the allure of wanting to get to a crazy late game if your character is capable of it.
Yeah.
But you are not a great character exclusively at your late game.
Ding, ding, ding. Serpent is strong as a supportive, slumbering spirit. Mm-hmm. People need to know that. You don't need to get to 17 energy to be playable.
17.
You don't?
Fighting 17.
Dude, I love...
Oh, it's great.
I love Serpent with shadows.
There.
They get like extra card plays, extra elements. Serpent is so good as a supportive character.
Extra presence placement. Presence placement. Getting majors that you don't have to forget anything
Extra energy.
Extra energy.
Serpent's strong.
These are good things, by the way. Oh, splash defense?
Oh.
Who has that?
Good fear, good damage?
Seriously.
Yeah,
Mobility? Yeah. Against Brandenburg, I see it. But like I said, it's just kind of funny.
Honestly,
Give it a
try
go.
it. I think you'll be surprised. Yeah.
This one makes me laugh. Laura, you can attest to this.
Laura?
Yes.
In Scotland's case, Ocean being both on the bottom and top 5.
Oh, what do you think,
Wait
Laura?
a minute. Doesn't Scotland go on the coast?
But they blight the ocean.
But they blight the ocean. Like,
Probably depends on how good you are with ocean and managing the tides. Because you can either get caught
yeah, I can see it.
and be like, oh no, I'm screwed. And I can't, if you don't set it up right, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating to sit there going, I can drown a city, but I'm not on a darn city.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting blighted on.
Yeah.
And like we said in Scotland's analysis, it's the duality of two existing truths. At the end of the day, you have an adversary that really goes ham on the coast, and your ability to kill people on the coast is very good against such an adversary.
It's your thing.
Yes, Scotland has the capacity to go inland, but so do you, and you've always had that capacity. Be careful with that level 5 because it'll gut you like a fish with bilge water if you're not ready for it.
Yeah. I feel like, Ryan, when you were saying playing with Bringer is like a nice edge, and sometimes things aren't doable, but you can still win. With Ocean, like Laura's saying, if you are on the inland and on the ocean, that blight doesn't matter. You can move back in tide, that blight doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
So it's a dance, it's Razor's Edge, but it's still winnable.
Yep. The last one is the one that makes, for me, the most sense.
Okay.
In England's case, it was Bringer, who was both bottom and top.
Yeah.
I definitely see it.
They don't destroy, so that lost condition's difficult, but England adds extra fear that you have to earn, and Bringer's the best at fear.
Yeah. But when England has extra fear that you have to generate, who better to counter that kind of effect than Bringer, who can use all these extra buildings and maybe find a Briny Deep or a Jungle Hungers. And bam!
Tons of fear.
Tons of fear.
They're not leaving, so hopefully you can move things around and keep it
So
under
it's
7 buildings.
Razor's Edge again.
It is Razor's
but
Edge.
It's always been Razor's Edge.
Especially
so that
against
one
England.
makes sense.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about how certain spirits we thought we were going to see. Throughout this adversary series, we wanted to get the opinions of all the community players out there to figure out who is the best and worst. And honestly, we had some expectations.
Well, you're right. We have our own opinions, and we talk behind the scenes like, oh, this spirit's probably going to make it. They're so good. We played games.
Totally.
They wreck.
Yeah, we would like play a little game. Oh, they're totally there. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Man. They're definitely going to show up against this adversary.
And I think this character will show up.
Oh, yeah.
And some people never did. And so we talked earlier, in Russia's case, I was shocked to not see Resilience Earth there.
Laura, we played our win against Russia. You played Resilience Earth, and we won because of that, because our beasts weren't leaving.
I did, and maybe that's why I still like them.
I think so.
Maybe shocked isn't the best word for me, but you get the idea. I was confused that I never saw any hightail or hoof mark of Resilience Earth in the top 5
Blight
for
kills
Russia.
beasts. Resilience stops blight.
Yeah.
I thought the 2+2 would have worked there. Okay.
In Habsburg's case, green not being in the top 5.
Oh, their loss condition is if so much damage goes through on the Ravage, then, you know, it goes on that card or whatever.
If they hit you too hard too many times, you lose.
But what if you never Ravage?
What if you never Ravage?
Huh, what can green do so well?
Stop
that Ravage.
No, I mean, there's still truth to it. I mean, Habsburg punishes you if the land is doing too good. That makes sense. I don't need for green to get, you know, bronze medal, silver medal, or gold medal or something like that, but just not anything. I don't know.
They stop Ravages.
I could have seen them there.
Yeah.
In Brandenburg's case, Serpent not being in the top 5, they made an honorable mention.
They made an honorable mention. And we kind of already talked about how Serpent's good.
Yeah, but that was another one. For Sweden's case, I honestly thought that Starlight would have been there.
Oh, because you mentioned Peace in the Nighttime Sky.
Peace in the Nighttime Sky. I thought was going to go great.
Oh, yeah. Stopping 2 Ravages potentially?
Yeah.
In one turn?
It's great. Also, you have a great defense innate.
Dude, that Earth innate, I like. A lot of my builds when I play Starlight has a lot of Earth.
And you're mobile. You can get there quick.
And
in
you
the
can
same way,
defend in
like,
multiple places.
It's almost reminiscent of Many Minds. Like, you can move quick and you can defend well.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the same degree, but you get the idea. Once again, I thought we would see Resilience Earth there.
They stop Blight! It takes so much damage to get through to Blight.
I mean, I guess I can see the whole, they overwhelm your capacity, but you're a major spirit.
Yeah. You have one of the best major capabilities in the game.
Right. Find something cool, go ham. And you have this helping you in the background. But, it's not the end of the world. But still, I thought I would have saw him there. Against France, I thought we were going to see Keeper.
Dude, they were shipped with the box.
Right.
They came with Branch and Claw.
Seriously, all the wilds? And the damage?
That's what France does. They send out multiple explorers. Oh, wait, they can't because there's wilds.
They can't. There's a wilds token there. Not being there? Huh. How about that? Downpour?
Speaking of isolation.
With isolation? Hello.
Speaking of stopping exploration.
Play Foundation Sink in the Mud twice, every town gone.
Oh, what?
What? Like, I don't know. I thought I would have saw them there. That's what I was expecting.
Dude, we thought we were going to see Downpour more.
Right. Hey,
France,
if we did vote in these things, maybe they would have.
Oh, I would have voted for Downpour.
I would have voted for Downpour. In Scotland's case, yeah, I'm not surprised.
How many people were in our top 5 in Scotland?
Half of the entire roster is in the top 5. What, we had 13 people up there?
And you make the top 5, and you make the top 5. Sure, why not? Resilience Earth? No. Sorry, guy.
So, yeah, in Scotland's case, yeah, I feel it.
Mostly everyone made it.
I get it. In England's case, I really thought that both Wildfire or Vengeance would have been there.
High offensive spirits.
Some of the strongest offensive spirits in the game.
Destroy all invaders.
Infinite damage.
Vengeance.
Bam.
Stops builds.
And stops ravages, too.
It stops ravages.
Which can really be helpful.
Yeah, and stops builds. And very offensive. Yeah, that was very surprising.
So, I would have thought that I would have seen them there. Like I said, I don't need for them to be the gold medalists or even silver or heck even bronze. But just,
they were snubbed.
I really still think that Wildfire is good against England.
Yeah.
But, whatever. That's just me. There were a few surprises, though. They were like, really?
Okay.
In Russia's case, I was really surprised to see Trickster in the bottom 5.
Don't they spawn beasts?
They spawn beasts.
What's that one card called? Unexpected
Tigers?
Laura, leave me behind.
Anyway. It's been a while.
Season 1 finale.
That was a fun joke. But yeah, it's actually pretty decent.
So I could hear the argument they're not one of the best spirits against Russia. Fine. I don't think they're one of the worst. They're one of 4 spirits in this game that can spawn beasts. They're not in the bottom 5.
Use them. Not just spawn them, but use them.
And utilize them.
Why don't you and them fight?
Yeah.
But then you can strife all those extra damage explorers.
And adjacently strife them.
Right. Like I said, I don't need for them to be in the top 5.
No, I honestly didn't. They could be fine in the middle, not in the bottom.
Or even an honorable mention, but they're in the bottom 5.
Don't see it, guy. Nope.
How about that? In Habsburg's case, oh my word.
Still makes me laugh.
Wildfire in the bottom 5.
Scrolling down too far on the page. Did they think they were voting in the top 5? That had to be it.
What?
They went too far down on the page.
What?
Utter confusion.
Yeah, I mean, I am in disbelief with that one. Wildfire, they are like the best counter to them.
You said they're the best,
scissors to the paper. Yeah. They wiped the floor with them. I cleared my board and turned 3-4. I mean, it was a bloodbath.
So this is what this podcast is for.
What the heck, guys?
We're educating people. We're bringing the community in. Come around the fire.
Come around the fire. Yes.
Spreading awareness.
No, it's just. Oh. I mean, I wish you could have seen how fast we countered it. It was insane. Clinic. Yeah, it has to be the misunderstanding.
It wasn't just your board.
Wildfire.
You were taking on my invaders too. Because I was River. I'm like, here you go, buddy.
So, I mean, like I said, it's just, I'm guessing the general zeitgeist of people warming up to the spear, like, okay, that's how they work. Okay, that's how they work. In Habsburg's case, I think the tone of this specific argument is, hey, Habsburg already adds blight.
Why add more?
And why add more? Because that's what Wildfire does. And if you're adding more, then we're gonna probably get wrecked. But here's the thing, you can get there first very easy. And if you get there first, they dead. And even if you didn't, you can clean blight so easy. The #1 most consistent blight remover in the game.
Basically turn 3 on your
seriously,
blight.
From turn 3 onwards, you can do it once every single turn.
Yeah.
And even if Downpour can come in and repeat a blight removal card in one turn and remove 4 or 5, overall, Wildfire still probably beat you.
Probably.
And because Wildfire is there, they start with 2 extra Blight on the field. If you heal that Blight, you now have 2+ Blight on your Blight threshold. Come on!
So if you're one of those people like, hey, I actually voted for, Wildfire in the bottom 5. I didn't think that would be good. When I listen to things or I'm hearing other podcasts or I'm watching a video because I watch Smash Bros. Stuff, I'm like, oh, this hypes me when I hear someone talking about a character I forgot about.
Yes, jokes aside, I'm not actually like pissed.
No.
It's just so dramatic of a thing.
But I'm saying, like, if you're hearing this, go try it.
No, seriously.
It's a fun time.
Yep.
When I hear things being talked about, it hypes me up, wants me to play it. Hearing Ryan talk about Habsburg versus Wildfire makes me want to play Wildfire right now.
It really does.
It's so fun to play. Watching that game, I literally have vivid memories of just Ryan cleaning house and be like, okay, I guess I'll spread out to the rest of the island.
I didn't know what to do.
My tile was fine.
I had nothing to do. John was like, here, I'll send you some towns. I'm like, sure, I got nothing else to do.
Blow those up too. Seriously, if you were one of these people, just maybe not even voted or just like have an apprehension like Laura does to Wildfire, play it. Play this spirit. Use the errata. Use the extra blight on the card. Play this spirit. Use the Badlands in Jagged Earth. This is a fun offensive spirit.
How do you do it? Quick tip. Not going to go in depth here.
Yeah.
But get your first fire element from both your energy track and your card play track.
Ooh.
Pull one from both because then you'll have 2 fire every single time. And that means you only need 1 plant and 2 fire from your hand, which is ridiculously easy. And that's all you need in order to go and trigger it. Because literally every single one of your cards that you start with gives you fire. And 3 of them have plant. Once you have those first 2 elements from the first point on your energy and your card play track, you will quickly realize, hey, since I need just 2 fire and 1 plant to remove a blight and 4 of my cards
have fire.
You start with 4 and all 4 of them have fire and 3 of them have plant. You only just need to play 1 of them in order to get that. That is why it's so ridiculously easy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, pick your moments, still be smart with it. It's not dummy-proof.
I love that little sneak peek to spirit analysis. That was good.
Well,
nice breakdown there.
But, I mean, it's like a, hey, at least I'll leave you with the tip that's helpful. Yeah.
Very helpful.
In Brandenburg's case, shifting memory being in the bottom 5.
Wow.
Interesting.
I thought they're like a really good major spirit.
The fact that this spirit can pull a major turn 1 and just go ham is actually really good against an adversary that moves very quick against you.
I only wish that memory could gain 9 energy from a growth option so they can then play that major. Wait a second.
Hey, it's not the most direct thing, I'll grant, but like I said, like
not a bottom 5.
A bottom 5?
Not from memory, no.
There are a plethora of people who didn't make it on either who I could have seen make the bottom 5
exactly.
in Brandenburg's case.
Yeah.
But, you know, hey, whatever.
Yeah, which is my opinion.
In Sweden's case, Wildfire in the bottom 5. I don't think it's as egregious.
Okay.
But the thing is Sweden is anti-Dahan. You don't really care about that.
Nope.
You can remove Blight out the wazoo.
They're anti-defense. You don't have none.
You can pop those towns easy with asphyxiating smoke, and all you gotta do is just jump around killing everything, and you're quick enough to do it.
Yep.
Sure, I get the emotion. Hey, they double Blight if I'm adding it, whatever, but same as before, but just not as drastic.
Yep.
Because at least in Habsburg's case, they literally get easier if they're blighted. Not necessarily the same with Sweden, but still, Wildfire can just like clear a board by like turn 4 or 5
against
in the same way
adversaries.
that Lure or Fangs can.
Ooh, I gotta talk about France for this one. This one might be mine. I don't know if everyone
This is where John gets mad.
So Finder showed up in the bottom 5. Like we've been saying, maybe Finder's not the best against France, but I don't think they're in the bottom 5 because they have fast control, which is what we talked about. Very good, so you don't allow them to build up. And isolation is so strong against France.
Seriously?
Like we talked about Wilds or Downpour. If you stop France from exploring, those double explorers don't then turn into towns, and then those towns aren't a loss condition. Finder... Oh, sorry. Okay, I gotta calm down. Finder is not a bottom 5 spirit. You can make it work, and you can go for a damaging major and then win. There you go.
No, for realsies.
Yeah.
And you can make the Dahan
Do
work
your
for you
fighting,
because they have the Slave Revolt in their event card.
Yeah.
And, oh, hey, I know that Dahan are going to be really useful in 2 turns.
If only I could move Dahan with ease.
Across the map in
Teleport
large
them.
numbers. So,
Yeah, not a bottom 5 spirit in my opinion.
And like I said, I don't need to see them in the top 5 or something, but like bottom 5?
Yeah,
really?
let's rethink that.
You know, in Scotland's case, Lure being in the bottom 5. I understand that the matchup isn't ideal, but
whole coastal
Lure
thing
is so good at breaking down things and gathering them that I don't see this as a second worst Spirit matchup. Because they got pretty bad.
Oh, we got
Sure, we all know the matchup here. Oh, Scotland goes to the coast.
You can't grow there.
You can't go there. You can't dwell there.
You can't dwell there.
But guess what? Your best power can. And they also go inland and you can stop them there. It's really not the worst.
Break them down.
It's not
Bring
the
them in.
best. I get it. But you can still do
winnable.
really well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. In Scotland's case, I really didn't think we would see Lure in the bottom 5. I understand it, but it's not that bad.
No.
In England's case, Nightmare being in the bottom 5.
We talked about this.
Yeah, one of the best Sphere Spirits in the game and can use Dahans to get buildings off the board.
You have a good defensive card.
Right.
We talked about Dread Aberrations.
Right. Sure, I'm not saying that it's not something that you couldn't build your skill level up to use it well.
Yeah.
But still, like, it's doable.
I've seen people say you have to bring Bringer to an England game to win because you need that much fear. So I was a little surprised as well.
Here's a question. In your opinion, who has the worst matchup in the game? Because we see all the time people talking about the best matchup.
The counter pick.
Yeah. And I'm curious what you thought was the best also. But really quick, who do you think was the worst matchup?
Ooh, my worst, again, as a River main, I have struggled so hard because I've tried River solo against like max level adversaries.
Yeah.
I can't do it against England, Ryan.
Not England.
I can't
That's
do
where your
it.
downfall is.
So England, you have...
No, I see it.
You
It
have
makes sense.
adjacency builds, and it just stomps all over River because you're moving people around. You're clearing empty lands, but then there's still 2 buildings adjacent.
Right.
So England doesn't care and still builds.
No, the control is just useless.
Control's useless. Okay, and then extra fear. River doesn't generate fear. No card. You need to destroy things to generate fear for River. So you're going to get double immigration builds,
Right.
and then the peak. The worst thing. Massive flooding does 2 damage to every invader.
Does nothing.
Does nothing to England.
The only thing that it does is kill explorers, who
cares?
England does
Who
not
cares?
give 2 hoots about.
It tickles England. They still build. They're still
and
there.
that's the thing.
You
Massive
lose.
flooding usually carries
Rex.
River into such high
My
difficulties.
favorite innates, and so easy to obtain. Your starting
right,
hand
your starting hand can
triggers
do it. Right.
Max level.
Right.
England
And here,
doesn't
they do not care.
It pains me because I love
care.
River. It's so fun for me. I like controlling. I like manipulating the board. I like benefiting others and being supportive. England just stomps all over my fun.
No, seriously. For me, honestly, I would probably have to say, and hear me out,
Okay.
base shadows, I know, against Russia.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not picking on base shadows to just like kick the kid who's down.
Okay.
I'm saying look at how Russia counters shadows. Because shadows is a spirit who likes to go and manipulate and destroy explorers.
Nice.
But the thing is it's very hard for you to do that since that's your innate. Well, the thing is getting your innate to high levels of being triggered
Isn't possible.
doesn't really ever happen. But when you gather too many explorers into a spot, they will now ravage in a land that has at least 3 or more explorers in it.
Which is really easy to do.
So you don't want to control explorers too well. But then even when you do kill them, one of them survives and he still survives. So it's like your claim to fame of being anti-explorers and all that good. But guess what?
You can get fear from explorers.
Right. And Shadows is one of 3 people in the entire game who gets fear for killing explorers. That's not a normal thing.
Very cool.
Only Lure, Fangs, and Shadows does that. But
Awesome.
Shadows does it the best. But Russia has this gimmick built in where that happens anyway. If you would kill an explorer and they move and they run away, you generate a fear.
So now lightning can do it.
So now anyone can
can
do it.
do
What
it.
made you special
Yeah.
isn't
now
really
gone.
unique anymore because now everyone does it. And the one thing you could do isn't really good anymore.
Your one
And if
claim
you
to fame.
controlled them too well, they now attack you. You have nothing to do with beasts.
Can you generate them?
You can't even protect yourself. You can only protect Dahan, not the beasts. The land will still blight.
Killing the beast.
And even if you do grab fear, that means their bombs go off sooner.
Oh no!
So, like,
and you're not a fast-growing spirit, so
No.
those bombs aren't so good in the early game.
So the thing about Russia's bombs is that they're going to hurt you no matter when they go off. And so you can make the argument that the earlier they go off, the better. But just you can see what I mean. I am positive that base shadows will perform not very well against so many adversaries. But this one, to me, feels the most offensive because it's so direct.
Countering.
Like, what made you special, Shadows? You're not good against explorers now that they can survive it. One of your only claims to fame with the whole, oh, at least I can generate fear when I kill them. Yeah, no, everyone can do it.
Every character can now.
Oh, hey, and guess what happens when you downgrade a town into an explorer? Uh-oh, you just upgraded the guy.
To an unkillable town.
Because now he can't die, and he has the exact same damage.
If only you could defend.
Oh, but you can't defend.
No!
At least you can die.
We all die together. We all float down here.
And so, Crops Wither and Fade now looks like, sure, city against town. Not bad. But guess what? You're wasting time on buildings when it's the explorers you need to be worrying about, and you just can't. Sure, Lure broke them down also and even spawned more explorers, but they can ignore them.
Can ignore them.
Sure, you're only getting one explorer when you do it on a town, but you can't ignore them.
Yeah.
So you upgrade the bad guys, you can't stop their beast attacks. Then, what made you special isn't special anymore because anyone can do it. And the one thing that you could do, you can't even do as well as you can. And even if you did it too well, now they attack you more times if you did it too well.
Not great, Bob.
Not great. So for me, that is why I personally think Base Shadows against Rush is probably the worst.
Okay. Laura,
what would you think?
Oof. I've given it a lot of thought, just like with who I really enjoy playing with and who I don't. And I would have to say any of the adversaries, level 8 or above, versus me.
Laura!
I don't like hard games.
Laura!
So just Laura against difficulty 10. or 8 or 9.
It's grumpy.
This is a jab to me because I only like playing level 10 games.
Opposites attract.
It's been a long year of COVID, baby.
What are you playing this time? Double adversaries, extra board tile. Let's have fun.
No, I am enjoying more playing other adversaries. I don't know. I think a number of spirits I like playing. I just like playing them regardless of who I'm playing against, just because I like to play them.
No, hey, that's fair.
I'm
that's
like,
totally
I don't
fair.
know who's worse against whom, just because I'm like, if I feel like defending that day, I'll play Stone. I don't care who I'm against.
No, that's fair. That's
So-
totally fair.
Heavy quotations on the defense.
Wow, rude.
Just that Stone doesn't defend.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, really?
I mean,
A
no,
little
we're joking.
bit.
We're joking.
Yep.
A little
Jerks.
bit. Laura, I think to your point, ignorance can be bliss. If you don't know this is a bad matchup, you just play it and you're like, I'm still having a good time. Oh, and hey, we won.
Isn't that what's important? Just having a fun time?
Yeah. So I actually see a lot of credence to what you just said there.
And I feel like whenever we play a really, really hard game anyway, like if you have somebody who knows strategy and maybe you're not as good at strategy, that's where the communication and the teamwork comes in, because John's really good at seeing all the things and I'm just seeing where can I explode stuff.
Right.
And seeing Ryan play
whatnot.
spirits has been cool.
Yeah.
I've seen you go on Reddit or BGG and just get quick tips, and that's been really cool. Like our One Vengeance game, Laura, you're just like, oh, I want to see how this spirit plays, and you can learn from other people, so that's been really fun.
Aw, thanks, babe.
I'm curious, John. Who is, in your opinion, the best matchup in the game? Max level, one character. Who is it?
Oh, it's between two for me. It would be a coin flip.
Ooh.
So Stone and Habsburg, right, is
Oh.
like legendary at this point.
Yeah.
Done.
When Blight is removed from the card, and then Stone's like, box.
How about that?
But then Lure, like we
It's such a
mentioned,
good counter, yeah.
like you said, when there's 3 explorers in a land, they ravage and they blight and they kill a beast, and then Lure's just like, I ignore them, I add beasts,
Oh,
I don't.
Lure against Russia,
So-
is so good.
So you're making me pick, and that's kind of tough. So I'm gonna have to say Wildfire, Brandenburg, Prussia.
Whoa. I did not see this coming.
Fastest attacker in the game, fastest adversary. Dude, we crushed
Yeah, we did.
Brandenburg, Prussia at tier level 2. I know Green
did.
was in the game. You were doing a lot.
Right.
And I'm seeing it in the community. Wildfire is becoming more and more just strong in my mind. And it's honestly moving up the tiers for me. Wildfire against Brandenburg, Prussia, whenever I play, whenever I see you play, that matchup it's a cakewalk.
Yeah, and the thing that's so funny was Brandenburg moves so fast against you, and yet Wildfire's like, where you going, fam? And
I
just
go there
chases
too.
them. You just chase them. You keep running after them, burning them aplenty.
We won in the growth phase.
Yes.
Against Brandenburg, with you just growing.
Yes.
Dude, Wildfire against Brandenburg is just
Wow.
like a big counterpick.
Yeah.
And it's not as like obvious. Maybe that's why I like it, because
Yeah.
maybe you still have to work, but it's just such a fun game.
Yeah. You know, if I had to think about which is, in my opinion, the best matchup in the game,
Yeah.
you were talking about Lure versus Russia. I really feel as if that's probably the most famous.
It is.
And the
yeah.
reason why I think it's the most famous is because it's the easiest one to see on paper. Think about it. If they have enough explorers here, they ravage. Oh, their explorers deal bonus damage. Oh, hey, look, I can ignore explorers. Well, stands to reason that those two would go together pretty well. And they do.
They do.
Lure versus Russia is insane. You mentioned Stone versus Habsburg with the whole, like, anyway.
When it comes from the card.
Right. Oh, man, you have double towns? That'd be a shame if I just sent it back. You know, all the damage that's coming in.
Right back at them.
For
Let them
realsies.
break themselves.
But just because it's easy to see on paper, to me, kind of like what you were saying, that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's the best, because there's a lot
There's a lot.
that are really good in practice that you just have to see happen. And you're like, wow.
Whoa.
I just had a game with so-and-so. I didn't see this on paper, but in practice, it was ridiculous.
Happens to
That
me
is
and
a
Laura.
very good point.
Happens to us all the time. We're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
For me, it's Wildfire Habsburg.
oh!
Yes, I know that Stone is like the famous one in Habsburg's case. I also think Stone is a phenomenal counter
Good pick.
to Habsburg, but Wildfire does it faster. I think that it's still
Literally
phenomenal.
from experience, I've seen it happen.
I mean, I did it like turn 4.
Yeah,
They
you
were dead.
Yeah.
Lure against Russia, phenomenal. Wildfire killed him like in seconds. In seconds. They went there, so did I. Blight went down, they died. Their bonus health just went boop.
Bye.
I damaged 2 people, 2 towns for 2. Then the Blight showed up, they're gone. Uh-oh, they went back to where I was. Firestorm that sucker. Oh, it's still blighted, dead.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so fast. In this entire adversary series that we've done, the fastest one that got countered was Habsburg, because Wildfire just no mercy, relentless dominance, just in a second.
Yeah.
They just right from the gate, no chance. It wasn't even a contest. And I was like, whoa.
It was the game where Wildfire clicked. And I wasn't even
Whoa.
playing Wildfire. I was like,
Whoa.
oh.
I mean, remember when you sent those towns over to my board?
Many.
It was turn 3.
I know.
I was like, yeah, I'm already done.
Please help. I'm like, send help.
So I'm not saying that the other ones aren't good. I'm just saying, like, for me, wow, that one just, jeez.
Yeah.
I was shocked to hear you say Wildfire Brandenburg.
Again, seeing that being played out, and then you got me hyped, so then I started playing Wildfire against Brandenburg Prussia. I'm like, dude, this spirit is strong.
Good.
So good. Such
And
good
you're just
damage.
laughing as
Yeah.
they crackle up into flames. Just,
Please,
bye.
please explore the 2 lands, 2 different types of lands. I
Go
need
for
more
it.
to kill.
Come at me.
I need more.
I need more. Just give me more peeps. You will run out of people to slaughter.
No, honestly, you will.
It's
You're like,
hilarious.
what do I do?
Seriously.
Laura?
Thunder Speaker against anyone.
Ah, jeez.
The thing is,
No, if I want to win, that's who I'm gonna play.
No, literally,
it
that's what she
sounds
does.
like it honestly sounds like a cop-out answer, but it's actually salient.
I mean, we saw it in the data. Thunder Speaker is
No, seriously.
On my birthday, I was like, we're playing Scotland. Who's everyone playing? And Laura's like, are they tough? I'm like, oh, yeah, they're pretty tough. She's like, oh, can I have Thunder Speaker, please?
There you go.
yeah. No more questions.
That's the
Complete
goat. I mean,
ruler.
19 counterpoints just in our surveys.
Yeah, very strong.
So, there you
So, one of the things I wanted to leave you with this adversary wrap-up thing is a cool idea that we had, which was, sure, we've been talking about spirit matchups, who you are, who you aren't, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
and the kind of salience that may bring to a game. But at the end of the day, no matter who you play as, there's always going to be the major and minor power deck. So, what are the great cards
Yeah.
that are good against each of these adversaries?
And one thing we were noticing when we were doing research for this recap episode, we started listening back to old episodes and seeing old comments. These cards kept coming up.
Seriously.
Either from us or from you, the
Yeah.
listener, you, the commenter, were mentioning these cards. Like, oh, these are standout major minor cards against a specific adversary.
Seriously. In Russia's case, Sleep and Never Waken is really good because first off, invaders skip all actions to target. So you can just do action skipping.
Nice.
And hey, against them doing extra ravages and stuff is great. But why it's so great is because you can remove up to 6 explorers from your lands. And remove gets around killing.
Ding, ding, ding.
And you can get fear for every 2 explorers that power removes. So it's anti-explore. You can just skip actions,
which is
remove, and get fear for it.
It gets around everything Russia does.
Yeah, it's great.
One that I really liked, and I saw that other people did too, was Savage Transformation.
Oh, it's so good.
One, because people think it's a bad card. And I get it. It costs 2, it's slow. It exchanged 1 explorer for a beast. Not the best thing. But against Russia?
That is huge.
That is huge.
It gets around their stubborn survival.
Because it replaces, and it's getting more beasts out there, which is their loss condition.
Remember how we were talking about how Sweden's escalation was so egregiously obnoxious because it converted one of your units to theirs?
Yeah.
The exact same thing here.
Except flipped.
They lose one of their good explorers, and it turns into a beast.
And if you have the threshold, you can do it in other
Again.
lands. Again.
Yeah,
it's a great card.
And it gets around them with their stupid sense of impending danger.
Ooh, Laura, talk about the next one that came up a lot.
Voice of Command. Pretty awesome, especially for Thunder Speaker. So range 1 from a sacred site, but when you're traveling around, you are nothing but sacred sites.
True.
Target land, Dahan, because duh. And then 1 damage per Dahan or Explorer to towns and cities only.
So now you're using Russia's explorers, who do extra damage, to now
Against
fight themselves.
When has that ever been so awesome?
So
when their
amazing.
explorers do bonus damage.
Now you get to throw it right back to them. And I love what Laura said. If you're doing this with Thunder Speaker, how thematic.
It's so great.
How freaking cool is that?
Seriously.
So amazing.
It is
The
so
general using these Russian explorers to fight against themselves. I friggin' love it.
Then you defend 2.
Okay.
During Ravage actions, explorers fight alongside Dahan.
Yes.
They deal and take damage at the same time and to and from the same sources.
They're just destroying themselves.
So you can even just have
literally
them,
turn
they
them
can
against
lay
each
down
other.
and die in front of your Dahan.
How
Rescuing
incredible.
them.
Literally a game-winning card.
And any ones
Seriously.
that survive, smack the towns and the cities.
Such a
Pretty
good card.
incredible.
Great card.
Melt Earth into Quicksand is also really good because that's one that after invaders are moved into a land, destroy them. So one will still survive. But you isolate target land. And that is one of the ways you can actually get around the sense of impending disaster. If they are isolated, they can't move. If they can't move, then that can't go off. You can actually kill them with this card.
What is the wording of, like, if possible or something?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you get around, it's not possible.
It's not possible for them to move. So with isolation, you can actually kill those Russian
So if you're
explorers.
playing...
Those are good cards.
Yeah, if you're playing Russia, pick up those cards.
In Habsburg's case, Volcanic Eruption is a great one.
Dude, so much damage, adding Blight. Yes, thank you.
With the Blight that you add, all of their bonus health just goes out the wazoo, and you have a ton of damage that
And
you
all
can
this
hit them
fear.
with.
Yeah, that's a great card.
It's great. And it does splash damage.
Yeah.
Which is great because in the inland, they're going to have so many buildings.
So
it's great
get
for
the
that.
threshold, do 10 damage in all adjacent lands.
Right.
Bye.
Then Wounded Wild turns on its assailants. Also really good against Habsburg because it is a card that can really do damage if the land is blighted. And since Habsburg will be blighted naturally and they already suffer from blight, you may as well capitalize on it. It's a card that adds bad lands in blighted lands, and then you do damage based on how many wilds or beasts or
Oh, that sounds perfect.
blight that's there.
Oh, blight?
Then you get bonus fear for any bad guys that are destroyed with this power.
Yeah.
So, since they're blighting the land anyway, you may as well take advantage of it. There are other cards that take advantage of blight too.
So yeah,
like Land Thrashes and Furious Pain.
That's a classic
It's a
OG
good one.
card. Yeah. There's a lot of cards that utilize Blight, like Ryan's saying, but these ones seem to be a standout amongst the community.
Seriously. In the same way, Focus the Land's Anguish, Sea Monsters, your Blight cards.
Yeah.
The cards that do damage with Blight are going to be great against Habsburg.
Crippling against them. Oh, for Brandenburg, I love unrelenting growth.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
They
Anything
move
that
fast?
makes you go fast.
How about I grow twice?
Yep.
In the
Grow
slow
through
phase.
sacrifice in the exact
Grow
same
through
way.
sacrifice, exactly.
Yep. Winds of Rust and Atrophy. That one has the same idea. The other two cards made you speed up. Winds of Rust and Atrophy makes them slow down.
Yeah, breaks them down.
Because it breaks
defends.
them down.
And you can repeat that
And
card.
you can repeat it. It's great.
Because Brandenburg's usually two different types of lands that just move really fast.
Yeah.
You need to start like slowing them down, and that's what winds can do.
Fire and Flood is good. Heck, even Volcanic Eruption is good.
Yeah.
Because those can do splash damage. Multiple. Tsunami is good.
Yeah.
Because you want to cover a lot of the bad
Great call.
guys that moved into all of these various lands. In Sweden's case, once again, you have a lot of the blight cards. Focus the Land's Anguish, Land Thrashes and Furious Pain. We mentioned these ones already. Just blight cards.
Find
Drought,
a blight card. Yep, because it's
Land
going
of
to be out
Haunts
there
and
with Sweden.
Embers.
Oh, yeah.
These ones.
Get a bonus
Good
sphere
one.
from that, yeah.
Right. In France's case, Terrifying Nightmares.
Ooh.
It gives you a ton of fear, yes, but it lets you shove up to 4 towns or explorers.
In the fast. Before
phase.
those explorers turn into
Yes.
towns. Yep.
Yes. Strangling Firevine.
Yes, I love Strangling Firevine. First of all, from range 1 of a Sands, so just being a Sands, destroy all explorers.
Destroy all explorers.
Kaboom.
I mean,
What in the
do we
heck?
need to say why that's
Do we
really
need to
good?
say why that's good?
Tell me why.
Also, what does it do after you destroy all explorers, Laura?
It adds a Wilds token.
Oh, it stops an explorer. That's cool.
But also, you add a Wilds token in the originating sand.
2 Wilds tokens?
And then you get 1 damage per Wilds token in or adjacent to the target land.
Well,
Yeah.
now I'm just being spoiled.
I
Okay,
know.
Yeah.
They
You
use their
have spit out
explorers.
2.
My
You
land
destroy
token.
all of their explorers. They hate Wilds tokens. You spit Wilds tokens.
2 of 'em.
And then you do damage with
On
your
top of
Wilds
that.
tokens.
It's incredible.
It's great.
It's insane.
Pyroclastic Flow is amazing because you get to destroy all explorers. Sure, if you have other things with it, you get to do a lot of damage too. But just destroying explorers, that's the theme. France hates losing their
Hates
explorers
them.
because they have so many.
And they need to turn to towns.
Right. With Scotland, sea monsters.
Find a coastal attacking card.
Seriously, Tsunami.
Tsunami.
Shore Seas with Hatred.
Yes.
Is a great one. Sweep into the sea.
Sweep into the sea. Any type of coastal focusing card.
Heck,
it
even
up.
Thickets Erupt with
Love
every touch of
thickets.
breeze.
Love
Get
thickets.
3 Wilds tokens on the coast.
You're clear.
That's
You're
awesome.
clear for 3 turns.
Yes.
At least.
And that helps with their stupid build too that they
Yes.
have. That extra
So
one.
Good.
In England's case, Pent Up Calamity is a
might-
great one.
That card, in my opinion, is in my top 5 majors.
Yeah. No, seriously, it is a card that is capable of such consistent and ridiculously high damage, but it uses an ammo to do so with tokens. But it reloads itself
Ding, ding.
by
ding.
giving you more tokens. It's great.
Spits out disease, spits out strife, and then you can use those for damage, can bring them back. It's a fast power. It can be range 2
Right.
away. It's incredible. It's cheap.
Jungle Hungers. Bam, there go all the towns.
Another cheap, amazing card.
Right, and you can even get a city with it too, but bam,
Why
all the
not?
towns.
Destroys.
Great. Punch holes in them. Get those ratios under control. Paralyzing Fright.
Won us the game.
Skip all actions. Get 8 fear. Oh,
So much fear.
So
it's
much.
incredibly clutch. Twisted Flowers.
Yes, another one of my favorite
Even did
cards.
really good.
Removes 7 fear.
Remove.
Does damage. But it, most of all, like Ryan said, removes.
It removes. In the same way, Vanish Softly Away is good
Removes.
here.
Yes.
Heck, even Desiccating Winds is good.
Yeah.
It's a minor. Just costs 1. But the more often you use it, the more
better it
damage it
gets.
does.
Because
so
Badlands.
2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, then 10.
Literally.
And against an adversary that has bonus health and has a lot of towns and buildings and cities and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like one of the best things to have for just 1 energy.
Yeah, these are just
Go
a few
for it.
cards, but for England, like Ryan said, find a Badlands card.
Yeah.
In the minor deck. Gosh, they're
Yeah.
everywhere. Just start adding up damage.
So there you go. There are some fun suggestions, fun cards to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, keep them in your head when you're playing these adversaries.
Yeah. And those are cards that you can use no matter who you are.
Literally anyone, sure. Well,
And so,
Wow.
there it is. There is the wrap-up episode.
Woof.
How about that?
season 1.
There it is. You know, when we started the Adversary series, we had no idea it was going to take as long as it did. But the thing is it was January 6th
Wow.
of this year.
Jeez. We're in
that
August.
we started
My
that.
stars.
Wow.
And it's ending in August 14th. Now, of course, sure, there were a lot of surprises along the way that we didn't see coming, that we didn't know about.
Right.
Like the errata change with the blight. Hey, that happened this year.
Yeah, spreading
That was a
rocks.
thing. Right, spreading rock.
That was
up, won the
cool.
world. That was
fun.
awesome. Right, but still, it was hilarious. We thought that this was, no joke, going to be a 7-episode
Maybe like
thing.
a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah, 7 weeks. We thought that we were just going to do the lore, maybe some of our own comments.
So Spirit Analysis is going to take, a decade?
And we thought that we weren't going to get a whole lot of feedback or whatever. You know, like, okay,
Couple comments.
Yeah, a couple comments here or there. It'll be quick and easy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, we were wrong. And I remember, John, you're like, do you want to, read all these? Because that's going to take forever. Like, hey, yes, we are.
I legit asked them,
Let's do it. Of course we're doing them. People took the time to comment. We're reading these, baby.
I'm like, we have 30 comments on one website.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
And we did it.
Because that just makes it so much more rich. I love the diversity of opinion because that makes it, in my opinion, much more lucrative. Because if we were only to give our opinions, that means you, the listener, has but one opinion or 2 opinions.
That's a lot of lore saying boom, boom.
I'm saying don't know, don't care.
Nice.
So that's how.
But if we opened it up, you know,
to the world,
then everybody can get in on it. And that was one of the things that really opened our eyes with the development of this show and this podcast, because we have done other series before. This was like our 4th.
Yeah.
We had done
Hype List.
the Hype List series. We did the First Impressions.
We did.
Yeah.
The aspects.
We did the Aspects. And so this was just going to be the 4th. And so, you know, when we were doing those other ones,
They were pretty brief.
if you think about it, community integration came alive as a main crutch to this podcast during the Adversaries series.
Yeah.
That is when it became a, hey, wait a minute. I'm talking with John and sometimes Laura and having an absolute blast, and I'm loving it. And I love what we have here. But it doesn't have to be just us.
What?
Like, let's get bigger. And I don't mean bigger as in like success or something, but like,
Let's bring everyone in.
let's do it.
Yeah.
We're already having this conversation on the Reddits, on the Board Game Geeks. Like, I can only see nothing but benefit from this because now everyone gets to get involved and you get to see.
Everyone gets strategies and tips and
Right.
tricks.
And what if you're a listener and because you heard of all these various opinions, you were able to agree with maybe person number 7, 12, and me, my opinions.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're someone else and your experience with how you play maybe resonated with John's and person 5's and 56.
I'm still trying to find someone that agrees that foreboding's the best control spirit, but we're working on it. I'm still looking for
But
someone
you
out
get
there.
what I'm saying.
Right.
Because we have so much feedback with it, you may agree with Ray's TDA's and Laura's approach. But someone else might go for
Tips.
Azure's TIPS and John's approach. And so, as a result, we can all come together with this. And I think one of the reasons why to me that was just so cool and so enriching and so fulfilling to see the community integration become more and more with this podcast is because in this past year and a half, the world has undergone this whole Corona debacle.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, even though we're not done with it, that as a whole, Corona has been a negative impact on planet Earth. Yet, there have been some awesome and really important things that came from it, because I think that because of this ordeal that we've all lived through and are still living through, it really showed the values of things that really are important. And it also showed to me that the things that I love aren't necessarily always going to last. Like, what if you had like a mom and pop restaurant or a shop that you really loved and it closed its doors and never came up again or something?
Our favorite restaurant went under.
Or something like that.
Sure.
Like, the things that we love aren't necessarily permanent. And that is something that is a hard pill to swallow. And that's something that we've, in the back of our minds, I think we all know that, but that was something that really was made very clear and apparent just this past year.
Jobs, people,
Jobs,
you know,
right.
things. It's tough.
And so,
Yeah.
how cool is it that we had the opportunity here to, as a result of this, connect with people literally on the other side of the globe.
when no one was connecting with each other.
On the other side of the literal planet. We can talk about something and it's something that we're passionate about, that we love. Like, we're just two idiots that love this game. And we just talk about it. We're not even like the best at it.
No, we're not.
But we just love talking about it. That's it. At its base, that's what this podcast was. It was just a phone call between John and I talking about how much fun we had.
That lasted 3 hours long.
And the thing is that is not something that's exclusive to us.
Not anymore.
So why should it be? If you are a fan of this game and you just love to talk about it, you love to play it, and you love to just experience it at any difficulty level, with any spirit, at any player count.
Yeah.
And you just simply love it.
Any adversary, any scenario, however you want to play.
In that way, you're just like us and we're like you. And that is why we are all kindred spirits. And that is how it has been one of the coolest things I have ever seen. And one of the best gifts I've ever received was seeing this. And what a joy it is to be that to each other.
Yeah.
In a time when we actually needed each other the most, that this was a thing that came. Like, I was not expecting this.
That we can band together around.
What a cool thing
Yeah.
to have. This has value. Like, sure, the game is fun, but talking and experiencing other people who
Connecting,
I never...
becoming friends with.
Right, would have seen or heard. I never would have had the opportunity to meet so many of those people. And now... I almost have like a first name basis friendship with so many people.
Yeah.
Names like Ozzy, Grant, Arcady, or Don Mage, or T-Ips, TDA, Cypressy, Pandemonium Heart, T-Ips, Azure, Many Windmills, Mr. Wolf, USS Gordon Captain 2, Atticus, G-Pope, True Mr. Fu,
Speedy, Ray,
Dead Service, Decideth, Tree on Wheels, Hizoja, and Angry Beaver. Like, so many people. Like, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Like,
so many people.
And that's just like the coolest thing. I cannot tell you how whelmed with gratitude I am for each of you, for all of these people. And there's so many. The list goes on. And those are just the people that I can just like remember off the top of my head.
Tip of the iceberg. There's
right.
hundreds of people that have contributed to this.
Trey on Wheels, I would like an explanation for your name. That's pretty funny.
I'm not that smart. That was always one of my
yes.
I don't know, that one speaks for itself.
Or I don't like pants.
Right.
Pants are overrated.
Pants are overrated.
Yeah, that was a good one. And a good comment, too.
And just the relationships, the inside jokes. T-Ips, don't worry, they're a great spirit.
Rayleigh-Mo.
Rayleigh-Mo.
T-Ips.
But, like, none of this would happen if this game wasn't a thing. And, like we said, it was supposed to be a 7-episode thing.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, because of the community integration, it has to be at least 2. And then it became 14. That literally doubled in size. Then in tandem with the other thing that showed up, went from January 6th to August 14th.
Like, at first they were 15-minute episodes, and then we got to an hour and a half because so many people were commenting.
Like 90 minutes,
good
2 hours.
comments.
They were so good.
Well written. Better than I could have ever stated about the strategies for this game.
Seriously, and I realized, like, okay, at first was an idea, now it's like a critical crutch to how we exist. And that's what I want. That is what I want going forward. I don't want to go back.
No.
To what it was before with just us.
And it seems like people want community integration as well. People are clamoring for it and asking for it. They want to stay involved with this.
And so this is just one of those moments where I want to look back and with happiness and joy, I want to reflect on the good thing that we found. And it's not exclusive to us, and I don't want it to be exclusive to us. I'm not going to take ownership over it because it's not something that's mine. It's ours.
Yeah.
It's all of ours. And I'm not even talking about the podcast. I'm just talking about the love for the game. If you were a fan of the game and you told your neighbor and now your neighbor loves it, that is what I mean by us. It's ours. This experience, this awesomeness.
That's how me and Laura played. We asked you, what is your favorite game? And you told us Spirit Island. Now we're sitting in a room talking about it on a podcast.
Right. The things that can come from something as important as this, it really has shown me how valuable having a love and a passion for something really is. And this is just a board game, but it's something that I love. And it's something that you all love.
Yeah.
And it's something that's just awesome. It's just been the coolest thing ever. So this Adversary series has shaped the podcast. I mean, the podcast debuted on September 15th. From September to December is 3 months. That is how much the Kindred Spirit podcast existed before the Adversary series.
Only 3 months.
We've been up for 10 months 7 of those months has been the Adversary series. The Kindred Spirit podcast has existed with doing the Adversary series longer
than without it. Yeah.
What in the world? And
we
look
found our
at
footing
how
with
much
this.
change
We found our footing.
has happened. The Adversary series, and specifically your community integration and assistance, feedback, and input to this podcast has changed it. This series and your input to it has changed the show. It rocked it to its core for the better.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see how else it can continue to develop it.
In season 2, when we handle Forbidden Desert, we're switching games, guys. I got it at Target. It was $15. It was a good pickup, all right?
It's in a metal tin.
It was cute. It was fun. It's another cooperative game. We can find strats. Who wants to be the miner?
I promise I won't quarterback that one.
Just kidding. We'll stick with Spirit Island.
Oh, jeez. So, there's not much really left to say that we already haven't said to some capacity elsewhere. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Yeah.
Seriously, thank you. We want to take the time to improve the show. And the thing is to continue the show on a week-to-week basis would make it difficult to find the time to implement and find all the changes to improve it. So in the same way that a caterpillar goes, yo, pieces out cocoons, and comes out as something awesome, that's exactly what we're going to do here.
Oh, we're coming back hitting hard in season 2.
I can't wait.
Dude, the things we have planned.
I know.
It's
I know.
gonna be amazing.
Ooh,
You know how some people
I'm shaking in my seat.
in advertisements will say, oh, we have this and this and this and this and more.
Yeah.
And they usually tack on the words and more. But they don't actually have something planned, but they just say that to get you hyped. No,
we literally have
purposefully
more.
left out things so that we could, without deception or without straight up lying, say the words and more and mean it. Oh, I'm so excited. So it's gonna be great. I just can't wait to get to it. We're gonna just get right to work. We're gonna see
we're
you
working hard behind the scenes.
on the other end.
Yeah.
And don't worry, we're still gonna be here. We're still gonna be around. We ain't going anywhere.
Shoot us a message. You know, find our socials.
We still here.
We're on Reddit. We're on BGG. Hit us up. You know where to find us.
Instagram.
You know where to find us. Yep.
The KSP. 1, 2, 3.
And well, without further ado, we're gonna get to it.
Wow.
Hey, I think we accomplished something really cool with season 1.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
more than we could have ever.
And yet, I
ever
still think
imagined.
there was a lot of growth that happened. And I still think there's a lot of growth that's left ahead of us.
Yeah.
So...
maybe I'll like Mines more in season 2.
maybe.
Cliffhanger.
The impossible can't happen. Until next time, I have been Ryan.
I've been, not Laura.
I've been also Laura.
Hey!
I'm John.
Thank you once again.
Thank you, everyone.
And we will catch you all on the flippity flip.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye!
Bye. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kindred. You didn't seriously think we'd go without me saying goodbye, did you? Hello everyone, Editing Ryan here. I won't take up too much of your time, but I do have some fun statistics for you that aren't really that important, but hey, numbers are always fun. Now that you have just finished the last episode of Season 1, we can now look at how long it's gone from start to finish. We officially started work on Season 1 on June 18th of 2020. We worked on it for 89 days until we aired our very first episode on September 15th, which was a little under 13 weeks later. The finale you just listened to aired on August 14th, 2021, which means that from the start of production to the end of this episode, 60 weeks and 2 days have transpired, or 422 days to be specific. Season 1 came out to 47 episodes, with 3,602 minutes of content. That comes out to a little over 60 hours, which equates to about 2.5 days. As of this moment, I have no idea how long exactly Season 2 will take to produce, or how long it will be, but during the off-season, we may drop a public service announcement here on the channel to check in on you every now and then, so don't be too surprised if you see that happen. The only thing I can guarantee is that we are incredibly excited to get to work on it so we can come back stronger than ever. As we've stated already in the past, we are floored by the reception of Season 1, and we are beyond thrilled that you have enjoyed it as much as you have. Thank you for encouraging and supporting us throughout the whole thing. We couldn't have done it without you, and now, we don't intend to ever do it without you going forward. Sure, we may have to find ways on precisely how to make that happen for the upcoming series, but that sounds like a fun challenge for tomorrow. For today, though, let us all continue to make this community as open and welcoming as we can. And not just welcoming to newcomers who may have just recently discovered the game, but also welcoming to new ideas and different perspectives so that we can continue to discover new ways to have fun, fulfillment, and enjoyment with this awesome game. I don't want to make this like Return of the King where it's like 6 different endings, so I'll close it out here. Whether you're one of our very first listeners like Al, or one of our newest like Susa, I can speak for all of us here at the KSP when I say, thank you for listening. Speaking of Return of the King, I'll use Bilbo's final words as my own. I think I'm quite ready for another adventure.